This is 365 Sports.
Keeps it. Scores.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Gets to the corner. Touchdown. Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Some time. Here's the tight end again. Rumbling towards the end zone. And the touchdown for Ancio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik for the touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Here we go, 365 Sports on a Wednesday, the day after week number 2 of the college football rankings release, and we will discuss that, look at it, get your feedback too. By the way, Dave Bartu from College Football Matrix is going to join us today at 4. I mentioned this earlier in the week and yesterday. Every next day after the rankings are released until they have the final ones, he's going to join us to tell us why. It's not even an opinion. He's going to tell us why they ended up the way they did without looking at colors and logos and tradition or anything else. That's at 4. So if you have any questions for him, tag my name in the chat room, and I'll copy and paste it and try to get it to him when he's on today. Because I think that's what happens. I don't have a dog in the fight. Most of us don't with our teams we like. Although Craig, Oklahoma is involved, but it's so emotional. I've noticed that it's just the way it is. Somebody goes, well, I think so. And it just turns into a free-for-all. So Dave was going to help clean all that up in his perspective. College Football Matrix at 4. So here are Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. And thank you all for being a part of our show today. Hit the subscribe button or subscribe if you haven't to our channel. Here is number 2, week number 2 of the college football rankings. There was very little change, but enough because of the BYU loss, and there's couple of teams hanging around. Then you have BYU, Utah right next to each other. But the biggest, Paul and Craig, it seems like there's this, why would A&M not be second? There's a little bit of that. And then there's, of course, some people freaking out because Texas Tech has moved up to number 6. And we can explain all of that. And well, why is Notre Dame in the top 10? So what, in your opinion, guys, when you saw this release, was there anything you went, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense?
I mean, there's a couple of things that you could, based on personal opinion, say that doesn't make sense. I don't like that BYU dropped as far as they did. I think that's my biggest gripe. I don't like Miami over Georgia Tech right now, but it's only one spot, and neither of them are in the top 12 yet, so I can't really drill down on that too hard. And as far as A&M, being behind Indiana, I think between the 3 undefeated teams, you can really split some hairs on, the schedule and who's done what and all that. But the top 3 teams are the top 3 undefeated teams, and that is how it is. I really, I see where their thinking is going a little bit, but after this week will be the one. It's it's like moving day at the Masters this Saturday, Smokey, with Texas and Georgia playing, Bama and Oklahoma. You have several games with massive playoff implications to them that Texas and Oklahoma, for all intents and purposes, could be eliminated, and so for that matter could be Notre Dame if they
also
lose
could create
Pitt.
chaos if they win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Craig, anything in particular jump out at you?
Yeah, I mean the conversation about Notre Dame and or not Notre Dame, but Texas A&M and Indiana saw where people are already blaming the fact that Mack Rhodes went to Indiana as the reason for why the Hoosiers are ahead. So you knew that was coming at some point, that somebody would look at the background of the chairman of the committee and find a way to where they're against their school. And so there's an easy way to do that this year, given that Mack Rhodes is a Hoosier grad, also an Arizona grad. But I saw A&M fans pick up on that, and I don't have like all of the detailed like this strength of record versus this strength of schedule and this and that like to sit here and present it to you today, because I'm one of those that I see the disagreement. I see where people are coming from. I see why you might think that A&M should be at 2 instead of 3, but I also don't feel like at this very point it's a big deal because of the games that are remaining now. However, I do think at some point, and it does still matter to some degree right now, but yeah, at some point there are no more weeks to go. Well, let's just let it play out more. Let's let it play. There's 3 weeks to do that. There's only 3 weeks to keep letting it play out. Now, there's a lot that's going to happen in those 3 weeks potentially, but I think it will work itself out in that regard because, yeah, Indiana's going to have to eventually play Ohio State. A&M's going to play Texas, right? And then go potentially play Alabama or whatever in the championship game. So I do think there is just that natural overreaction on social media in particular, where some of this is going to get worked out. But I understand why people get worked up on a week-to-week basis. And so that's the whole point of the TV show, is to get people reacting to it, and they're very successful at doing that. And so this week does matter more than last week, but we'll see where it goes. There's definitely a case to be made for A&M, but I've also seen, people poke holes in pretty much every case that's been made by anybody. There's people poking holes in Ohio State being number 1. I mean, whatever angle you want to look at it from, there's an argument to be made that this team should be a spot different, lower or higher or what have you. So, yeah, the A&M Indiana conversation is an interesting one. Also, you have Miami that's in that playoff bracket, even though they're not even inside the top 12. They're at number 15. And I've seen a lot of, at this point, it's just like whining and crying from a couple particular people in regards to Miami, some national voice in particular. And so I'm very curious to see how this ACC race shakes out, because I feel like that all could be totally irrelevant here in a couple weeks, because Miami may not even make the championship game, but we're getting really upset about them not being ahead of Notre Dame right now. And I get the argument, you beat Notre Dame. And so I understand where it's coming from. It's just that I feel like it's gone a bit over the top to the point of do you need a tissue? Honestly. So that argument's out there, and I think is one that's interesting. The ACC race is, who the hell knows? I mean, is it Georgia Tech? Is it Miami? Is it Louisville? Who the hell is it?
SMU, Virginia,
Pitt,
all of them are in it right now.
All we know is that whoever does win that, they're going to be at the back of the rankings.
But by saying and having to name 4 or 5 teams, they're really let it play out. But I know we can't do that.
No, we can't do that. But that's what I'm saying is the overreaction to that in particular. I think when you've got 6 teams along with them that are all fighting for the same couple of spots, naturally that's going to get decided on the field. So I don't think there's too much to get worked up about just yet, but I understand. So Miami did make a little bit of a jump, so that'll appease some people. Nice jump up by Tech to number 6. I think that's valid and worthy. I do think BYU slipped maybe a spot more than I would have liked to have seen, but I understand, like I said yesterday, you didn't just lose to a top 5, 6 team on the road, top 10 at the time, but you lost at their place. The problem is you lost by 22. And the problem is you didn't score any points till the end of the game. And you were never really a threat outside of the opening moments of the game. And then you started turning the ball over and couldn't score and all of those things. I said, don't call me after 3 o'clock, but okay.
Is that a business?
That's my car I've been waiting on for an entire week.
They don't listen.
No, they don't listen. Anyways, Texas Tech, I think, is in a good spot right now. They've got to feel great about where they are. And BYU, yeah, maybe a spot higher would like to have seen, but I totally understand, like I was trying to get at, that they lost by 3 touchdowns. So even though you lost to a top 10 team on the road, a ferocious atmosphere and everything, it's still a 3-touchdown loss. And everybody, no matter who you are and who you're playing, should get dinged for that. So, that, and then, there's South Florida right now. They're the Group of 5 representative, although I think there's very much a lot still to be decided there as well.
All right, let's go through a few things. I got a couple of tweets. Brandon, don't worry about the one I sent you with, the Mac Rhodes Conference Championship, because that's really irrelevant for right now. But we'll get to that in a minute, the chairman of the College Football Playoff Committee. But let's get to this one. Graham Coffey, he covers Georgia. We've had him on the show. I like him a lot. We have disagreed, and we're not afraid to disagree. But this one here, you're seeing this pop up, and you're going to. Now, Graham has a right to his opinion like you have with yours or me or whoever. 9-1 Ole Miss down 1 to number 7 below 9-1 Texas Tech is who's at 6. Now, all right, you can argue that. But then this statement, you're going to start getting hammered with this. It is almost like a political climate. And I disagree with Graham, and I said I'm going to have to get in touch with him, and we're going to have a cat fight. This is where people get upset, and then it's just an opinion. Texas Tech doesn't play a single blue chip ratio roster this season. What's the point of the strength of record metric if a one-loss Big 12 team sits over a one-loss SEC team? They're playing different sports. I 100% disagree with Graham. I know the narrative that all the blue chips go to the SEC. Texas Tech's got some dudes, man. But we got a couple of these we're going to show, but that's from Graham Coffey today.
Yeah, let's totally let Bud Elliott decide how the playoffs decided, since that's what he's citing there. All due respect to Bud, and from what I've seen, does a really good job. But, that's literally a metric that was created a few years ago by 247, by him at 247. So now we're going to start just plucking things that are convenient. And so now we're letting blue chip ratio decide. Now the blue chip ratio, for those that don't know, is basically looking at recruiting rankings. And I might be slightly off here, but the basic gist of it is looking at recruiting rankings. And it basically says that if you don't have like a top certain grouping of recruiting average over, I forget what the period of time is because I don't have this.
Probably 5 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But the basic gist of it is if you don't have a certain average of blue chip recruits over a certain time period on your team, that you don't have a real crack at the national championship.
Or those who you're playing.
Or what about those who you're playing?
Actually, he's talking, it's not so much that Texas
they doesn't
Tech,
play.
They're playing.
Well, my point is, I'm explaining what the blue chip ratio is. So the blue chip ratio is that you have a certain average of recruits that says you have this type of a roster with this average of a ranking and a ranking of blue chips. And teams that don't have this certain ranking are not really contenders and have never won a national championship, right? So that's the basic gist of it. So it's like it's a metric to say, like, if you've got this, then you have a real legit crack at being a national title contender. And if you don't really have a shot at it. So that's what he's citing. So he's saying that Texas Tech doesn't play anybody that has that blue chip ratio roster metric, and that's true, but I'm sorry, man, with all due respect to that metric, and it's panned out and worked out so far, and it might be something we cite for years and years to come, like, yeah, that's great. But I don't think you just cherry pick that and go, well, because of this, Texas Tech doesn't belong. That's bullshit, man. Like, I think that there's some validity to who Georgia or Ole Miss or whoever have played in their conference. But, man, just create the Super League already. Like, can we just fast forward to this? It's always from the SEC side of things as well. And, at this point, like, there's nothing anybody can do. Texas Tech was undefeated. He'd still be saying this. Like, that's the thing. And so I don't think there's any point in arguing with people like this over comments like this, because you're not going to change their opinion and they're not going to change mine. I think it's college football and it's a national sport. And if you guys just want to let numbers tell you who needs to play for the national championship every year, then go create that. But all of us are still like college football fans. So you're in the Big 12. The Big 12 is what it is for this particular year. But judging that they're not a good enough team, even though they're 8-1 because they didn't recruit a certain percentage of blue chips for a few years. Let's do the blue chip ratio over the last years. Texas Tech in that, it's a year-to-year business anyway with the transfer portal. This isn't you have to develop people over 4 and 5 years, and maybe the metric takes that into account at this point. I don't know, but there's no point in arguing. This is all I'm saying.
you're very right. And I'll just put this out there as why I don't think the blue chip ratio is a fair thing to throw out there, which is, I mean, I don't, and again, I'm like you, Craig. I'm assuming Smokey's not deep in the math of the blue chip ratio and what accounts for it.
I know what it means.
Yeah, but
I
mean,
know
like,
what it suggests.
But how accurate it is and all those things. And I'm sure that CBS and 24/7 will put out, Bud will put out content that says this is why it lines up. And
he does,
and he's probably not completely wrong. But what I'm saying is I don't think we have a fair sample size in the new transfer portal era to say that that's a fair thing to include.
Right. There is history that shows when you get the alpha dogs and you get enough of them, you're probably going to be competing for national championships, and a lot of them do. But we also know of programs who get a lot of them that haven't won a national title in 20, 25, or 30 years.
I don't even think it's that.
And by the way, Craig initially said Texas Tech's blue chip ratio. I know a couple, Reese, we know exactly what we were saying. It's the opponents who they're playing and where they are when it comes to recruiting.
Right,
rankings.
but my point is if Texas Tech, if you look at the last year, what is their blue chip ratio? So by that metric, they are a team that would have a blue chip ratio. Now, I understand they're not playing teams like that, so they're cakewalking their way, and they're at more of an advantage. So I understand what you're saying there. My point is, okay, they haven't played Georgia, Alabama, Texas, all these teams that have the blue chip ratio, but they have a pretty damn talented team based on the blue chip ratio, I think, based on what they did this past offseason.
That's why they play the damn games.
That's why they play the games
okay.
like that. And so I'm not going to push back, like I said, too much on this because it's an opinion. It's an opinion,
Yep.
and I think that opinion, with all due respect to Graham, is probably slanted 99.9999% of the time towards the SEC, which is fine. I'm more of, let's look at the bigger picture. Would I pick Texas Tech over Georgia or Ole Miss right now? I don't know. I'd have to sit and think about it. So Ole Miss deserves a lot of respect, but man, we start going, well, Texas Tech's 8-1, but they don't have a blue chip ratio, so they shouldn't be in like that. I mean, why play the games?
Yeah.
Why are we even having a season at this point?
And I'll throw out to you, Smokey, when you said like we have history of that. I'm telling you, in the revenue sharing era, we have less than a season of data that shows the blue chip ratio. So you can have a huge blue chip ratio based on the old stats of blue chips, but how many of those do you retain now? How many of those don't leave? How many of those are really on your roster for long term? How many of them are contributing right now?
Do you want to know some blue chip ratio teams that would fit for the last few years? So this is from 4 months ago, all right? So Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, A&M, Oregon, LSU.
Garrett.
Florida. Auburn. Clemson. Florida State.
I'm sorry, Paul.
Hey, look,
But I'm just saying, like, it's not the end-all, be-all because other things matter, like coaching, like culture, like things of that nature. So it's easy to pick apart the schedule of anybody that's not in the SEC or the Big Ten, and so that's just going to be something that comes with the territory. I'm not going to say Ole Miss is better or not or whatever than Texas Tech. I think that these next 3 weeks will decide this ultimately. But, I mean, I just think taking a single stat that's something that's been out there for a few years and saying, oh, well, because they didn't recruit to a certain level, they shouldn't be in, even though they're 8-1 and have handled their business and just beat a top 10 team by 3 touchdowns. I mean, dude, just take the glasses off for a second, please. I mean, for the love of God.
Well, that's a Greg Sankey narrative, no question. Roger, I think he's saying Texas Tech doesn't play a 50% blue chip ratio roster team.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yes, that's exactly what he's saying. But, okay, Roger, you're a USC fan. Have they performed to who they've gotten? So that's just one. Now,
I know what he's saying. He's saying that they're not playing anybody, like they're not having to play Georgia, Alabama, those teams that recruit really well. I understand that, but I'm saying that I think Texas Tech is a talented team who's handled their business, and because they haven't played a bunch of teams that recruit to a certain level,
right.
Okay, ding them as far as where they are seated, but don't sit there and tell me that now a 6th SEC team or 5th or whatever. I don't want to make this all anti-SEC
it's
and
not
all that.
anti-SEC.
Yeah.
It's not. It's more of
propaganda.
They played the damn games, and this is not by any means, and I know we have some UT fans, this is not by any means, but if that was the case, and now there were some years after Mac Brown where they started to slip into the teens when it comes to recruiting, but how many times, and they're starting to build that back up again with Sark, but how many times in the last 20 years, since 2009 when they lost to Alabama, 16 years have they had a top 10 recruiting class, and how many times have they actually, until recently, matched the talent that they're supposed to be adding to their roster?
Plus,
and
this
by
is
the
all-
way, then they also have added to the portals, too.
Plus, there's already strength of schedule metrics.
Yeah.
There's strength of record metrics. Those are already accounted and tabulated into it. So I don't see where the blue chip ratio comes into play. It's a metric that has been valid as far as the last few years, that it's been correct in that if you don't play a certain percentage of teams, you know, you're not a national title contender, what have you, or you don't recruit to a certain level, you're not yourself a national title contender. And so then that plays into who you play and whether they are or not. And certainly in the SEC, you're going to play more of those teams than not. So, I mean, I understand where he's coming from. I understand this is the time of year where all those things get thrown out, but I think it's kind of disrespectful to Texas Tech.
No, it is. And it's also short-sighted, and it's also digging your head in the sand, and it's also living in the past. But, yes, in the end, most likely one of those alphas will win the national title.
Right.
But, my God, Texas Tech, if they keep doing their job, will get that chance. Also, sorry. Do you have the bracket that shows how it would be set up based on last night's rankings? It's the bracket itself. This is kind of neat to see. Bottom line is these are the following cities based on last night that would host games: Oxford, Eugene, Athens, Georgia, and Lubbock, Texas. Those would be the 4 schools that would host first-round games based on, and again, based on last night, it would be Ole Miss in Texas, Texas Tech in the U, which we'll get to, and Notre Dame, Oregon, and then USF and Georgia. Those would be the 4 first-round games.
By the way, if I remember correctly, and it might not affect the blue chip ratio, it might remain exactly the way that it is, but I don't think they even count transfers. So if you looked at Texas Tech from the blue chip ratio standpoint, they look a lot different based on that metric versus what they actually are. Now, I don't think that drastically changes the other Big 12 schools, because I don't think any of them recruited like Texas Tech to the point where they would be a blue chip ratio that they would have played. But I just also want to add that in, that it's not fully completing, and as far as I know at this point, taking into account transfers. So I don't know that Texas Tech, if you played them, would meet that ratio, even though I think they meet that ratio at this point. So that's all I'm going to say on the rest of it. But
you can go through the list of like stud transfers this year, and there's probably 10 of them that would not have been a blue chip because they were at Bowling Green or they were somewhere else that they didn't. You know, so
where was Jared Verse from?
Jared Verse was from friggin' Albany.
Yeah. It turned out to be a hell of a player and an NFL player.
He was a scrawny,
there's a lot of those
athletic kid, and then he got to Albany. They apparently had a badass trainer and taught him how to lift weights and eat protein and do all those things. And then all of a sudden, people saw him and they're like, "Oh, Cassius Howell
and
at A&M
should have been playing on a national championship college football playoff team."
Diego Pavia.
Diego Pavia. All right. Now, Brandon, lead me through the next couple of minutes of what else you have in order, because I got so much stuff from by the way, Miami. Okay. According to ESPN, this is Shahan Jeyarajah, BYU has a higher strength of schedule than Notre Dame and Ole Miss, better strength of record than UT, Oklahoma, and Notre Dame. Typically, strength of record tends to correlate better to college football rankings. In this case, it does not with BYU.
Yeah, that is weird. That's why I do have a problem with them being behind all those teams with 2 losses. I don't mind them being behind Ole Miss, but I do mind them being behind teams with 2 losses, because if in today's college football you can roll through your first 8 and not lose, that's pretty damn good. And you take your first loss to the best team in the conference, pretty damn good. Now, you did get thumped in that loss, but, Texas was never really in the game against Florida. They kind of had to claw back, and it wasn't really, they got it close, but Oklahoma got thumped by Texas. Notre Dame's lost 2 games. Bottom line is, that does kind of stand to the, well, those are names and BYU is not. I don't want to put that there, but I do think that BYU deserves to be higher.
All right, so there's Shahan with the strength of record and strength of schedule. discussion in what the committee. Dave Bartu, again, will give us some facts at 4 o'clock today.
I'm fine with metrics being used. I encourage it. I think there's got to be an element of a little bit of everything, but I do think it's kind of selective when they choose to use it, as Shahan points out, and I don't quite know why that is, other than I can assume why that is. It's to fit whatever pieces of the puzzle they're trying to fit in any given week. So it's like when Jeff Long used to go on there and all of a sudden, like, we got to explain this. Well, game control is this thing that we now use, or whatever else other terms he came up with that first year that were just were just funny week after week. But yeah, I mean that's an interesting note for BYU. I think they're a really solid team, but again, their issue, guys, is they got smacked by 3 touchdowns. Period.
They were dominated.
Yeah, they were, and so play a better game and lose by 7, and I think that the conversation is much different, and I think they still have their way in. They can still make the Big 12 title game. Hell, right now they're expected to rematch with Texas Tech based on where we sit. So they'll get another crack at it, and they'll either lose again to Tech if they get to that point, and I think that would eliminate them most likely, or they'll play their way into it. I think that some of their cracks got shown, though, for sure, that some of the teams they were able to just run on or run through, that wasn't the case when they loaded up against the Texas Tech, and that definitely won't be the case when they load up against teams that are similar to Texas Tech in talent, like those teams from the SEC, who I don't have a problem giving tons of credit for that. I think that BYU's very much a team that's on that line of the cut line, and I think last weekend really was a big hit for them.
And remember, there are games still to be played, and there will be a couple of upsets, and then there'll be a team that is trying to scratch and claw to get back in it that will have a big win, no matter what conference we're talking about. All right, Brandon, what do we have next? Now, Missouri head coach Eli Drinkwitz. I like this. Paul, you sent this one in on the playoff or bust. There are opinions that the reason why there are so many coaches being fired immediately instead of end of the year, or like, golly, October was bloody October, is you make the playoff or bust. We got to get out of this, oh man, it's playoffs or bust. If the season only counts for 12 teams and we have 127 Division I football teams, that math's not going to math very well. There's a whole heck of a lot to be proud of.
I mean, it's easy for him to say when he's in demand for some of those things. I don't disagree with him in spirit in that the playoffs or bust has to be a realistic thing. Like, you have to – I think that there are certain teams, and I think every team should kind of have a 5-year plan to look at of, okay, how close can we get to the playoffs year after year? How often can we make the playoffs? Only 12 teams make it. So our down years need to be 8-4 and 9-3. And if we're 8-4 and 9-3, and that happens a couple years in a row, and then we rattle off a couple 10-2s and 11-1s when we get the right mix of the roster, that's fine. Have more of a Steelers view of it in that, let's see if we can build something for the long term because of the nature of player movement here, and that you have to be realistic about it, and that nobody still understands how to kind of do it the right way.
A couple of chat from what you're saying, Paul. I agree with him. I do disagree. I agree with him.
Okay, can you let me finish my thought so I don't lose it before we get to the chat part of it? So we don't know, but like if you're a program that is in this constant roller coaster of where you are 13-1 and then 2-10, or you're LSU where your bottom line should be 9-3 and you're losing games at home, or James Franklin and Penn State is a whole other kind of ball of wax. Or you're rolling this roller coaster and your highs are high and your lows are low, then you probably need to get off that train.
I agree with him 100%.
Yeah.
I think we've completely lost sight of winning a little bit or a lot, or going to a bowl game. It all depends. Each program is different. I agree with him. And a lot of people in the chat think, well, that sounds like a guy that's trying to set himself up for failure the rest of the year. Well, they're already struggling to they're not going to be a part of it. And or somebody who's about to leave Missouri.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what he's saying there. He's also a guy that might very well take one of the biggest jobs out there when it's all said and done. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he's too concerned about, his status and where he is. I think he could very well be the next head coach at LSU here in a couple months.
Or Penn State or Florida.
Penn State or Florida or somewhere along those lines. So I mean, he's a good coach, and this is the type of opinion that is very much a hot topic. And I noticed last night especially a lot of the hand-wringing over the nostalgia for the old days when bowls still mattered. So to his point, right, like you used to go and just make the Phoenix Bowl, and I just made that up off the top of my head. Maybe there was one at one point in time. That's where I'm plucking that from. But the why am I blanking? I'm thinking of all the major bowls. I can't think, like the Reliant Furniture Bowl or whatever the hell. I mean, I don't know how excited people got over that to begin with.
Yeah.
Because I know plenty of people who bitched about going to the Texas Bowl because it wasn't good enough. So I don't think that – I do think we're rewriting history a little bit, because there's plenty of times when your team didn't make a good enough bowl game and you were pissed about that, and it was not a fun season because you made a lesser bowl game than you were expecting, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't think they're like, hey, we didn't make one of the New Year's Day. Well, this season's a failure. You didn't make the playoff. This season's a failure. It's just a different level of failure. But it has completely changed bowl season. There are games in bowl season that used to matter a lot more than they do now. And yes, for some teams, there is a playoff or bust mentality. I don't think that applies to everybody.
No,
I think BYU
I don't either.
Had a hell of a year last year, and they were proud of it, and they didn't make the playoff. And it served as a launching pad for them to have another great year. I think that, if you're Georgia and you don't make the playoff, then heads are going to roll. Texas, heads are going to roll. Oklahoma, they better make the playoff soon, or Venables' head's going to roll. So I think this depends on who you're talking about. I don't think it applies to the majority. I think it applies to the bigger schools at the top end, the ones that have the blue chip ratios and spend the most money. And because you're doing those things, you're recruiting really, really well, and you're spending as much as anybody, then the expectation should be to make the playoff. But for like 3/4 of the team, if they make the playoff, that's freaking awesome. If they don't, well, hopefully we go to a good bowl game. That's how I kind of see it.
I think 3/4 of the team out of the 127, if they can make the playoff once every, 5 or 8 years, they'd be thrilled.
But to the other side, for him, he's at Missouri, and their expectation in the SEC is to make the playoff. And so he is giving himself, for the people that want to look at it that way, a little bit of a cushion of, if Missouri doesn't make it, he's like trying to sort of change. No, we shouldn't. It shouldn't be all playoff or bust. Like, look, man, we're really, really good. So I do think there is an element of that for those pointing out that part of this quote. But looking at it and taking away his potential motives or bias for saying that, I do agree that it shouldn't be playoff or bust for everybody. But in his seat, where he currently is, and especially the one that he could take here in the future, that is the expectation. So if you don't want that, Eli, then go coach somewhere else. Because that is going to be the expectation at Florida. That's going to be the expectation at LSU. Mm-hmm. That's going to be the expectation at Penn State. So
why do you think they have coaching changes? Because
why are all of them in search of coaches, even though they had some, in Penn State's case, a pretty successful coach, because it was playoff wins or bust at that point for James Franklin. It was natty or bust for him. So that comes with the territory of that job. But I think as a whole, strip away the Missouri part of it, I think it shouldn't be that way for every single school across the country.
Let me ask you this. Sarkisian's raised Texas's level. Got him where UT fans expect him to be, boosters, donors, fans, T-shirts, whatever. But if they don't make it this year for whatever reason, whether it's because they get knocked out if they lose to Georgia, or they don't beat Georgia or A&M, whatever happens, is that a failure? Failure is a harsh word.
I think so, in that you have been so close the last couple of years. Now, granted, you could say, well, as a new quarterback, so you kind of hit the reset button, but I don't think that's how most Texas fans think, and I don't think that's how they approached this season, and it certainly wasn't when they were voted the number one team in the country in the preseason, if we all remember that. So for them, you started off as being voted the top team in the country. Now, we know there's things to be said and argued about preseason polls, but I don't think Texas ever shied away from that is their expectation every year. So, yes, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are unless there was a rash of injuries or just something completely unforeseen that throws them off course. Anything short of making the playoff for that program without some valid reasons as to why is a failure. Now, for Texas Tech, at this point, they probably feel like it is, but for most other schools in Texas, no, that's not. For A&M at this point, like this year, it's playoff or bust. But for most of the other schools just in the state alone, it's not that way.
But it wasn't for A&M when the season started, because we didn't know, and Elko kind of had an idea across the board.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, look, it was for Jimbo Fisher at the end. It wasn't for Mike Elko, because Jimbo Fisher had been given everything. So I think playoff or bust also goes when, Yeah, if you've got a team that's committed to spending you have $20 million, or let's say 16, that they take off of most rosters in college football, it's $16 million, and then you commit another $16 million to it through your collective, then if I'm one of those people paying that $16 million, you're damn right playoff or bust.
Yeah,
at least in a reasonable amount of time.
I think for them this year, it was a playoff or bust.
I do too, because you usually see a team that goes semis, championship. And it used to even be that way back before you had the playoff. That's kind of what you expect, that ladder. You knock on the door, you lost a lot of players. No one probably put enough emphasis on the offensive line that was not going to be nearly as good. And then on top of that, it affected Arch, et cetera. But, yeah, I think that this year, who they were, what they were set up to do, college football playoff was an absolute must. And it may not happen. Is it a failure, though? That's a very harsh word, and I don't like using that word, but disappointment, no doubt.
Well, at this point for A&M, it would be a failure, and I don't even know if it's mathematically possible. I guess they'd lose out, and that would be possible, lose 3 straight to close the year, and they'd be out of it. But I don't expect that to happen, obviously. But for Alabama, Georgia, Texas,
Ohio State,
unless there's some special circumstances, yes, every year it is playoff or bust, and every year it should be, because you have the highest metrics of every single thing across the board from off the field to on the field. Now, is it a bust if Vanderbilt doesn't make it? No, I don't think so. I think they could still have a really good year. Now, I think there will be disappointment because you had your crack at it and you had your shot at it and you fell a little bit short. But for Vanderbilt football in the SEC, it's not playoff or bust this year.
No,
they can still have a very good year.
They are thrilled with what's going on. Do they have higher expectations? Yeah, because of what they did last year, who they have at quarterback, and a lot more. I was interested, and I know that this has flustered some A&M fans. Real quickly, then we come back with our college football picks. Dave Bartu at 4. Is that how do you separate Indiana and Texas A&M? Mac Rhodes was asked about that last week. He was asked about it again last night. And he gets down to this with all the other things that are said, and it goes to this point. That they feel like when you look at both teams, they're very close. They're close defensively. Give Indiana the edge, and they're close offensively. Certainly give Indiana the slight edge there. Find it away with Fernando. That right now, Indiana's overall ranking nationally, defensively, they're really better than people can steal the offense. No, they're very good across the board, and that is driving a lot of A&M fans not angry, but like frustrated with that particular how they've been separated.
Look, dude, if you're going to be the 3 seed and have a bye and you have no idea who you're going to play in that game, like, don't be angry about it. Like, just kind of enjoy it. And here's the deal. Either Indiana or Ohio State, if we continue on this current track, are going to play each other. And maybe one of them will lose in such a fashion that they get knocked down and out of the buys in the first place. I don't think that will happen. I think that the winner and loser of that game will probably still be top 4 national seeds, given it'll likely be their first loss. But, and like, you can agree or disagree with defensively and offensively on that. I mean, like, I think the stats would show it's razor thin anyway. Just let them keep putting Indiana there. Let it be the chip on your shoulder that maybe distracts you from battered Aggie syndrome.
Yeah, but again, separating 2 and 3, you're a lot better off than people who are trying to say if they're going to get in the top 12 and be a part of the playoff.
And here's the deal. If and when you beat South Carolina this week, which you should absolutely do, and if and when you beat Stanford, which you absolutely should and will do, then all of this comes down to Texas and the SEC title game. And that's where you need to worry.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about all this is, like, that's why seeing some of the just intense reaction at this point is it's kind of fun, and you can get lost in it and get fired up over it. And we've gotten fired up, or at least I've helped my heart rate rise a little bit in some of these cases talking about it, and you can see how you easily fall into that. But, yeah, then you realize, like, oh, A&M still has games to play. Now, I understand the A&M Indiana conversation, and I think there's some merit on the A&M side, but I really do feel like, it's splitting hairs. I mean, it's 2 versus 3. I know that will matter greatly to some degree at the end of the road, but that is going to sort itself out. Like, and when you look at Indiana and the fact that they've been crushing teams, you can point out, well, they haven't played this team or that team or that team. Well, look at A&M's schedule. They haven't played this team or that team or that team either. I mean, I do think there is very little separating them. I think it's in the eye of the beholder. I think a case can be made for either way. And I don't think it's a big controversy this week. No. I think that it will be in a couple of weeks, but right now, yeah, A&M needs to worry about beating South Carolina. Indiana needs to worry about finishing out. I know that's not why we talk about these things, to go week by week, but that is going to be a narrative, at least, that will be figured out by the play on the field, and it will not be the committee deciding on November the 11th how they rank them 2 versus 3 that will be the determining factor. So
there are going to be a couple
chill out a little bit on that, I guess.
A couple of at-large bursts. Yeah. There's going to be some bitching and moaning, no matter what. Go win. Go win. It's in your control. Some teams, it's not. You need to win, and other teams need to lose. When we come back, our college football picks at 4, Dave Bar 2. Brandon Rowe, Garrett Ross, and Andrew Valade are here. Brandon's running the mothership. Garrett is putting up things all over the internet or social media and segments and clips and all that. And Andrew is just looking for something to create problems with us at the end of the show. But he has put up one of the polls. We'll have his results, quizzes, and more. Paul, what is this called?
The wheel. We do the carnival.
The carnival, and then, of course, Paul's top 5 today at the end of the show. We got a lot to get to. Our college football picks and a couple of other nuggets in college football. This is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, used to be. And what am I talking about? As you get older, usually about in your 40s. It could be a little bit later for some. And then there's a small amount that may be in their mid to upper 30s. Your testosterone level within your body can start to drop. And that is like your fuel in a lot of ways. 1 out of every 3 or 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. One of them that really doesn't get enough credit is just how you feel, your energy. It can, you just don't have it. There's something wrong. And yes, there's also sex drive, performance, sleeping habits. You might even gain a little bit of weight around your stomach and your waistline when you're pretty fit and you eat pretty well. It happens. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dial them up on the internet. Contact them if you want. There's a number included. Tell them I sent you. Dr. Petty and his staff will set you up to get your blood work, take care of it, get the results, get back with you, and if you need a boost, they can do that so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be at Petty Clinic, lowt.com.
Batteries Plus has teamed up with the Dallas Cowboys as the team's official battery recycling partner. Batteries Plus doesn't just sell batteries, they recycle them too. Customers can bring in all-lithium batteries from power tools, power banks, and small electronics for a chance to win Cowboys tickets, a VIP experience, and more at qualifying locations. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
That's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone? Yes. Car batteries? Yeah. What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from Jeep?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building. Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customizations, and of course online at golfballs.com.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than H-E-B with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to the Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is at 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com. ubeo.com.
You don't want to miss our best price deals during the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. This month, you can save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel with premium options like luxurious leather trim seating, surround view cameras, and more. Shop our great selection in-store or online today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-straight testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
Football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game, poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
365 Sports, we will have 5 college football games that we do. Craig's Big 12 Mojo rankings will come in after we have Dave Bar 2, Zach Gelb a little bit after 5. And we have the college football picks. So how are we going to do this? Paul? Oh, I remember. This is so boring. I'm sorry. I love this segment.
Yeah.
Everybody's discussing. This is so boring.
We all did the same thing, and Memphis let us all down from a 5-0 week. But I am above 500, and that's all that matters to me. And just a mere 8 games behind Craig and 10 games behind you. So, I'll pick up a game. If I needed to pick up 2 games a week for pretty much the rest of the season, and if we do a bowl thing, we need to just do it all out so I can maybe get you there. And here's the thing about bowl pick'em. It is the hardest thing in the world now because you can find out an hour before a bowl game that a bunch of people opted out.
I thought we were just going to do the college football playoff, but whatever we decide to do.
The only way that I could catch up, I think, at this point to either of you is to do a full bowl pick'em.
Well, you can't change the
do
rules.
all that.
Here we are.
And so, no, this is Andrew's thing. So Andrew gets to make the call of what games we pick and when.
Bottom line, there's 5 games a week. five per week max.
Yeah.
All right, so that was boring. We all picked the same team.
Yeah, Memphis got in a major hole there against Tulane and tried to dig their way out of that late. Made it very, very interesting there in the fourth quarter. Towards the end of that game, they had a shot to win it and fell short. So really nice win by John Sumrall after the big embarrassing loss to UTSA. A nice turnaround for them. But, we all put Memphis at home on our picks, and we all struck out there. So I think we've got maybe a couple differences this week. We'll see, I guess.
All right, so here we go.
All right, starting out, USF versus Navy. Blake Horvath was out last week against Notre Dame. I haven't even looked to see if he's playing this week, but if he's not, then I feel really good about this. And even if he is, I think USF is just better than Navy is. If Blake Horvath is playing, it'll be a better game. But I'm gonna ride with the Bulls here.
I don't know. I looked for an update on Horvath, and I haven't seen one just yet. But I looked online. Maybe that's on Twitter, and I haven't looked there just yet. But, give me the Bulls on the road. They're a really fun story. They're a really good team. Byron Brown's been great. Remember when they were one of the first teams to play this year, and I sort of half-jokingly said, put him in the Heisman race. And, obviously that faded, but he's been excellent. Alex Golish, another guy. We just talking about John Summerall, but Golish, a guy who I feel like he's being mentioned, but not nearly as much as I anticipated that he might be. He's kind of the third or fourth or fifth or whatever type of guy mentioned when I look around a little bit. Definitely not as mentioned as much as Summerall, but give me the Bulls on the road.
They're a double-digit favorite, 10.5. By the way, Bill Wagner, who covers Navy, that Horvath expected to start in their game.
Thanks.
A must-win situation if they're going to be a part of the American as a representative for the championship game. It's also senior day at the Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. I also will take USF. I really like Alex Golish, so that's who I'm going to take. And going up against Navy, they are really pretty good. Fun to watch. Throw the ball more than you think, but I'm going to take the Bulls. They're playing at a nice level.
Next up, rolling along, USC versus Iowa. I think that USC's offense will be held relatively in check here. I do not expect them to get the kind of weather they had in Iowa last week, which was a boon for the Hawkeyes. Very impressed with what Lincoln Riley's done with Jaden Mayava, and he can say that his fake punt was legal all he wants to. He's not the authority on it. The league is, and they said it was. So maybe he's still mad about that and tries some more shenanigans this week, but I got the Trojans here.
I think that this was probably the hardest game to pick for me. I really went back and forth on it quite a bit. Really impressed by Iowa, but I do think that they are maybe a little bit stung by last week, and that the weather and the setting and all that I do think played immensely into that game. But got a really good defense, so that matchup with what USC's been able to do this year is going to be a lot of fun. And really the critical matchup, Jaden Mayava is not somebody who I thought was going to be as splashy and as good as he has been. Now, I thought when he came over to L.A. that he was a good pickup, but I just didn't think he'd have as good of a year. But, hell, he's being coached by Lincoln Riley, who, despite what you may think of him, still knows what he's doing with quarterbacks, and I think that's shown this year. So, give me USC at home. I think that the Trojans have been able to kind of quietly fly under the radar because I feel like last year, Lincoln Riley, hot seat, Lincoln Riley, what's going to happen here? And we haven't heard much about that. But have you seen, what was the rumor about him looking around and he stomped out?
There's something out there.
Yeah, but what job was it?
LSU.
Yeah, the LSU job, which was also a job he was rumored for before he took the USC job. And so he's come out and spoken on it and said what he can say, but of course nobody's going to believe anything that he says until he actually does it. So
I do actually believe the emotions behind it was like, y'all know what I went through when I
Right.
came here.
Yeah.
Like I believe that, like,
but the difference is though, Paul, is the USC media is like a 1/100th of the OU. Like there would not be people outside his house in Brentwood or wherever the hell he lives, the Palisades or something.
He's in Malibu, baby.
Compared to, well, wherever, it's all the same area, but I don't think it would be quite the same as like people stalking you at the airport on your private jet with you and your assistants at 2:00 in the morning or whatever all the scenarios were.
No.
Then.
I mean, like they could send all those people out, and if Matthew Stafford, sends out a tweet that was a pocket, like, it's all these things. People think he's got a concussion, he's not playing. They'll all stop. You know,
they had a little stretch there where they were starting to get a little bit fragile. They lost to Illinois, lost to Notre Dame, beat Michigan in between that. And then, of course, any team that can beat Nebraska, you know how good they're playing. Well, they're playing. I take USC. I just think they have too much. Iowa is so hard to pick when they play, no matter where they're playing, especially at Kinnick Stadium, but they're not. They're at the LA Coliseum, so I'll take the Trojans to win their third straight.
Well, moving on. Georgia versus Texas. I saw our picks here. I can't wait to hear one of yours. I think Georgia's just too good. They are a better coach team this year than Texas is. I'm not dogging the Texas coaching staff, but this is one of the more impressive coaching jobs to me in Kirby Smart's tenure, in that he does not have the team he had in 2022 that was just, Optimus Prime at every single position. He's got really good and very talented players, but in the new era, he's done well in that they can't just rely on their talent to get them out of holes anymore. They have to really play gritty, and Georgia plays gritty a lot. And Gunnar Stockton, I just love him. So I'm going with the Dogs here.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a hell of a scrap, and they've obviously had Texas' number lately. I'm going with Georgia at home. If this game was in Austin, I'd think about it a lot more, but I've never really pushed off of picking Georgia here. So give me the Dogs, and I'm very curious to see the quarterback play on both sides of this game. I mean, that's where we all take our eyes and look most of the time to begin with. But Georgia's got a really good running game. I think they've got a little mojo going right now all around as compared to Texas, who has looked a lot better in recent weeks. Is definitely on a surge where kind of wanted to write them out a couple of weeks ago, and now here they are, and they're right in the thick of things again. So really, really interested in seeing that Georgia offense versus this Texas defense. But I'm going to take the Dogs in Athens.
I thought Georgia last week really looked like maybe they started to click on offense. But here's my deal. Paxton, are you listening to me? Something about the horns. Paul, how many times when somebody has a chance to take them out and they don't? Kentucky, no. Vanderbilt, no. Yeah, I know Georgia's a bigger handful than that.
One of these things are not like the other.
Yeah, I agree. But there is something about them. And when you survive like they did against Kentucky and Vanderbilt, then you get an off week. I think that gives them a chance to kind of tighten some things up a little bit. I'm going to say this, and if I'm wrong, that's fine. I think Georgia, I don't know if I've just kind of liked the way they've looked. I know they had the great game with Alabama, et cetera. But they look like they may have gotten themselves back in a nice rhythm on offense. Texas, there'll be a turnover early. They're not afraid to go into Georgia. They've won in Tuscaloosa. They've won at Ann Arbor. You know what they are. I'm taking the Horns. I am taking the Horns.
I think you have a lot of trauma when it comes to them, and it's justifiable.
I do.
It's justifiable. Yeah. But at no point this year have I thought that Texas has played a game in which they look better in the same week as Georgia. I think that's why I picked Georgia. I just think, you can't point to one to me. Okay, what's next?
I'll have to look at the weekend when they beat OU and see what Georgia did. All right.
Yeah, Alabama versus Oklahoma. Roll Tide here. I would love to see Oklahoma win this game, though, and throw a lot of things into chaos. But I think Alabama's just too good here, especially at home. The running games for these two teams are shamefully bad for the caliber of teams that they are. So just whichever quarterback has the hottest hand. But, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see John Mateer, ratchet it up a notch and really give Bama a run. But Ty Simpson's, one of the best quarterbacks in the country too, and has had a more consistent season so far, so I'm rolling with the Tide.
Yeah, I like Alabama here as well. They're on a hell of a streak as far as SEC play, as far as winning games at home. Now, eventually all streaks die, and Oklahoma's a good candidate to going in that. And Oklahoma's had their successes against Alabama. Just look at last year. Look at that famous Trevor Knight Sugar Bowl years and years ago, a game that Alabama promptly turned around and said, oh, we didn't care about that game. But that's another story for another time. It's just funny how that often happens after losses. But nevertheless, I'm taking Alabama. Really like the way Ty Simpson is playing. I do think if Oklahoma has a knife they can kind of slice into this Alabama defense, it would be John Mateer in the running game. I'd say the running game in general, except for the fact they don't really have a running game outside of John Mateer. If they did, then I'd feel a lot better about Oklahoma's chances here. But I think the fact that it is kind of Mateer or bust in the run for the most part this season, I don't think it'll be something they can really take massive advantage of. But hey, he's a playmaker. This is going to be a really fun game. Great the way this schedule fell. You got Texas, Georgia, and Oklahoma, Alabama all in the same week, and I think that's awesome, especially with all four very much being in play for the big prize there, not only in the SEC but also nationally as well. So give me Bama at home. I think they're going to be able to limit Mateer, and I just really, again, like the way Ty Simpson's commanding that offense right now. OU's defense is really, really good.
Yep.
But if we're saying which quarterback's going to be able to throw it around a little bit better, then I'm going to go with Ty Simpson.
Yeah, he's been really good after that loss to Florida State. Alabama could have just completely who knows? But they just keep winning. They're not flawless either, but I'm going to take Alabama, and I think because of what happened at the end of last year when, you didn't just beat them, they beat them up. And that's probably been one of those headlines that's up on the walls in a couple of lockers or whatever. I'm going to take the Crimson Tide. But how they cannot run the ball. Is that the offensive line? They got Proctor and others, or are the running backs more kind of bangers rather than somebody that can go 40 or 50 on a given snap.
They do not have Oklahoma has a couple guys that are that athletic. One of them's a true freshman. One of them we thought was going to be great, but we haven't seen him this year, and Jaden Ott.
That's the weirdest thing.
Such a weird thing. Everybody was so excited about that. And Alabama just, even their big, when you talk about Najee Harris or Derrick Henry or these guys that were even the big, bangers, like Derrick Henry will haul off and give you, he has a 98-yard run in his career in the NFL. Like he'll give you a long run. They just don't have that dude in their running back room right now, which is very odd for a place like Alabama.
Yeah, I think Jam Miller could be a pretty good running back. I think it's O-line, and I think that they've also tried to just say that it's a lack of kind of the right mentality. I saw, Ty Simpson talking here recently, and he pinned it on it being like a mentality thing. So, I don't know how much, how if the mentality's not working 10 games in the season, what, I don't know.
You are who your stats say you are,
exactly.
Right?
It's like after a while, it's like, shouldn't y'all be mentally tough enough to get mentally right if it's only a mental thing at this point? So I think it's more than just a mental thing. I think it's that, they have some deficiencies there on the offensive line is the biggest issue.
You're taking Alabama.
Yeah,
I'll take Alabama. I will.
Oklahoma is coming off the bye, so that is notable.
Helps.
They are coming off an open
Alabama's
week.
playing 2 or 3, 4 games in a row where teams are coming off the bye, including later in the year against Auburn. Oklahoma's defense is number 4 in the country rush defense. They're not giving up but pennies. So that will be interesting. Alabama's going to have to get a pick. They're going to have to force Mateer into a turnover like he did against Texas, put pressure on him.
That's what he does, though.
And
that's the
what
thing.
he does.
He turns the ball over. He takes calculated, sometimes dumb risks, and when it's boom or bust. That's basically what I kind of view him as, and I said this when they first picked him up, that I was excited about it, but I also know there's an element to his game where, he can get a little squirrely and try to make some things happen, and that's what makes him great at times, but it's also what swings the other direction. So which version of Mateer do we get as far as the risks paying off or not this weekend will be a big determining factor in whether or not they win this game.
So we all take the Crimson Tide. I will be interested if Alabama can pop a run somehow early in that game and maybe flip the script on what they've been able to do.
Is that it, or do we have one more? We have one more.
Yeah,
okay.
We have one more.
One more game. Notre Dame versus Pitt. Man, Pitt is everybody this week that doesn't want Notre Dame in the playoff. Pitt can take them out. They're on a 5-game winning streak. They've got this game at home. It is going to be raucous there, I am sure, at the former Heinz Field. I wish I knew what the word acrisure meant. But I think Notre Dame's just too good on defense and maybe will not get befuddled by their very good true freshman quarterback like everybody else has been these last 5 games. I think he'll put some stings on them, and if they can keep some guys up and healthy and making plays, they'll do something. But I just think that Notre Dame they're also on a roll. Since they lost those first 2 games, they're on a roll. And I don't see it stopping this weekend, although they'll get a tough matchup.
Financial technology and insurance company.
I know, but it's just a word that doesn't mean anything. It bothers me.
Oh,
like a name. It's like
it does to the company.
It's probably a couple words put together.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah,
acrisure.
Yeah.
Sounds like a cream.
I have no opinion on it. I don't care about it at all. But yeah, I'll take Notre Dame here. Although based on last night, I'm not rooting for Notre Dame to lose, but I would not hate to see it, just to see the reaction of it by various parties. That would be really, really interesting. Pitt has been terrific. Mason Heinschel has taken over from Eli Holstein. He's been very, very good, been very, very productive, and downright, a threat to turn Notre Dame on its head this weekend, having home field advantage, having the big, was it game day that they have this weekend, or is it Big Pitt? I get confused.
One of the two.
Yeah, one of the two. But it'll be a great atmosphere. I think Pitt's a fun story, and Heinschel's great. But give me Jeremiah Love and Notre Dame. I've just been very impressed, and their losses are to really good teams. Although you can debate Miami and all that. I think that Notre Dame's the better team based on what I've seen this season.
I'll take the Irish. I love the run game. They're making just enough plays. I still think they're probably a little overmodulated after the losses, but the A&M obviously is very, very good and where they are. So I like what Pitt's trying to do, but I'll take the Irish. So what does that mean, Andrew? Where are we with our picks? Do we have there we are. Are you kidding me? I'm the only one with the balls to pick somebody different this week after last week's boring picks.
Look, I feel good. I picked all the same as Craig.
Can you make a pick and hope you're wrong?
I mean, I know that you do, but there's not been a week where I've, like I said before, where I've watched Texas and gone, man, I think they can beat the better teams in the SEC. They're just uneven. I just feel like that's when you expect that's when they put together something and get a couple of breaks early, and if they do, it's maybe they turn a short field into an easy score. All right, so there we are. We'll have the picks next Wednesday, right? Craig's Big 12 Mojo rankings in about 30 minutes, but Dave Bartu, College Football Matrix, will put everything together and try to help us understand why the college football rankings were the way they were last night and what does it all mean. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco. Nick Caldwell came in during the summer towards the start of football season, renovated the club, did a lot of changes. They redid the menu. The chefs love what they're cooking, but they always have, and now there's even more options for you. And game day coming up on Saturday evening, 6 o'clock kick. They'll be where they are every time Baylor plays at home, at their tailgate at the Knox Hall, and then also a place where you could have breakfast, brunch, lunch, or dinner. Host holiday parties, office, big family, or even some kind of other business party. That's where you go. Nick Caldwell and company, the Baylor Club. Tell them I sent you inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco.
I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. For details, go to GencoFCU.org.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Welcome back into 365 Sports. A little rearranging of the schedule as Dave Bartu, College Football Matrix, will now join us here in about 20 minutes to talk last night's playoff release and his thoughts on what the committee presented to the rest of the country and all the controversy surrounding some of the slotting and who's, this or that. We'll get into all that here in about 20 minutes. But right now, we'll bump up and get into the Big 12 Mojo rankings, my version of power rankings on the Big 12 Conference. And, man, getting down to the nitty-gritty here, I think there's some clear separation at the top. There's some clear bottom teams, and there's just a muddle of teams in the middle as we will get to. But let's go ahead and jump right into this week's rankings, and we'll start off as we typically do with 16 through 13, and that bottom four, they remain relatively unchanged. I mean, Oklahoma State basically in a perma spot at this point, and there's been no reason to move them from number 16 so far. If they jumped up and got themselves a win, that would be something that we would definitely celebrate and talk quite a bit about on this show, man. We'd make the Oklahoma State hour at this point for their sakes, because we know it's been a very tough year to have to deal with basically from the outset, but didn't play last week, so there's no reason to change them, and nobody was so horrid as to warrant jumping all the way down to 16. So Oklahoma State, they are where they are. Colorado, they stay where they are as well after the loss to West Virginia. I did think Julian Lewis played an impressive and nice game for a true freshman making his first start, playing a West Virginia defense that's very good in some ways. That was a challenge for him. And on the road in Morgantown, there was a lot on his plate. But I thought Julian Lewis actually played a pretty damn good game, and it was promising. And that future, I'm not sold on Deion being there for the long term, but I do think Julian Lewis is the type of guy that can keep him hanging around Boulder. I do think that that young man, along with some of the other players that they have assembled here over the last year or two, would be reasons for Deion to, in fact, stick around and see this thing through post Shador and Travis just 1 year later, but into the second, third, fourth years. But, you lose to West Virginia. You're not moving much. And then UCF, very disappointing loss, first ever space game loss there in Orlando, falling to Houston, and had a chance, had the lead there heading into the fourth quarter and couldn't hang on to it. Houston, with their incredible field goal kicker, able to get another victory, number 8 for them, as we'll get to, which no matter if you thought Houston was going to improve, I don't think you saw 8-2 in the cards necessarily for them. But UCF now at 4-5, they've got their work cut out for them to even make a bowl game at this point. And I didn't get to touch on this, but very briefly, because we just sort of went through the Big 12 results on Monday. But that Scott Frost decision there at the very end to change quarterbacks because Taven Jackson was dinged up. He was not playing well, and most of all, he was not healthy. They decide to give the ball to Davy Belfort, or Davy, I'm trying to remember which was, but they give the ball to Belfort, just come off the bench and try to go win us the game, and he drives him all the way down the field and gives them a chance, and he throws a pick. Mm-hmm. He throws a pick on his one and only pass attempt. So he was 0 for 1 with a interception. However, he also had 36 yards rushing, so he was able to move the ball a little bit, but Houston got the big defensive stop. So UCF now looking at a situation where a bowl game is going to be really tough to come by because they need 2 wins. They have 3 games remaining. Do you see 2 wins in these 3 games? At Texas Tech.
No.
Oklahoma State at home.
Yep.
At BYU.
Probably not.
Yeah. So probably 2 of the worst draws you could possibly have if you're trying to win 2 games in your last 3 would be at Tech and at BYU. And that's unfortunately for them what they've got sandwiched around with the trip to Lubbock coming up this weekend, that game against Oklahoma State. And then Kansas, I'm dropping a couple spots. I mean, you heard Ari Timken. I asked him a question. He talked for 20 minutes about the woes of Kansas football right now. And there's a little bit of hyperbole there, obviously, but I clearly touched a nerve, I think you could say. And there's clearly nerves being hit over the weekend with Lance Leipold and his conservatism with trying to hold on to a lead and try to play the safe game rather than just going and winning the game. It has cost them time and time again, and it cost them once again this past weekend against Arizona on the road. So they have lost 3 out of their last 4, and you know what the one win is?
Oklahoma State.
It's Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
So you are an Oklahoma State away from being on a 4-game losing streak right now. So for that reason, I had to drop Kansas a couple of spots. So there's my bottom 4.
Yeah, Kansas.
And they have Iowa State and Utah.
I never thought I would be at a point.
That's another where they make a bowl game at Iowa State and then Utah at home. I think they got to win this weekend.
Yeah. I never thought I'd watch as much Kansas football as I have this season because now Amanda, they were supposed to be good, and she met Lance Leipold, and he was very sweet to her. So we've watched a lot of Kansas football this year as we haven't so much in the past, and it's gut-wrenching because you look at Mizzou, you look at Cincinnati, this last week, so many games they've had this year where you can win the game, but you have to keep doing what you were doing when you got the lead. They stop doing what they do when they have a lead, and it doesn't make any sense.
They also were blown out by Tech and K-State back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, but they are on a bit of a losing skid right now, save for that Oklahoma State game. 3 out of their last 4, and another game that you lose at the end that you had an opportunity to win. So on to the next batch of games. You got West Virginia up a spot after their win against Colorado. West Virginia now a couple of wins back-to-back. They got a good defense. They beat Houston in Houston, and they've got now this win over Colorado at home. That was a tight game, but I think the thing about West Virginia is, like, you could maybe say Kansas is a better team, right? And they lost to Kansas by 31 points about 2 months ago. But that was 2 months ago. And I think West Virginia has improved. I think that defense has got some legit spots on it. I think anybody who's played them would tell you that as well. I think they've got something with little Scotty Fox. I think there's a future there for him. And you got to remember, too, they were decimated by injuries to their skill guys in the preseason early on. So I've been impressed with West Virginia. I mean, they were on a long skid of losing, and they were right there like 15 for the longest. But you've got back-to-back wins now. So as far as Mojo goes, I think the tide's starting to turn. I think Rich Rod's starting to turn this thing a little bit. Like, I think you can see where, like, they're playing really physical. They're playing hard. They're not out of it by any stretch. And so for that reason, I bumped them up a spot. K-State is dropping down a spot. There are still a lot of questions looming around them and the future and Chris Kleiman and just kind of where everything sits right now and what the future looks like. And there's a lot of talk about Gene Taylor and how long he is for the job at this point, kind of his attitude towards his constituents. And I think there's big picture concerns with them right now.
He's worn out with college athletics.
Yes, he is.
He's not the only one, but he's been vocal about it, too.
Yes, I think he is very much worn down, and I think that you can kind of feel that. You can feel it from Kleiman. It's just not what you thought. Now, they got beat by 23 at home against Texas Tech the last time we saw them. They get Oklahoma State on the road this weekend, but I do drop them a spot because I just don't think, as far as Mojo, there's a lot going on in Manhattan right now.
And I tell you what, K-State and KU fans, I know KU never beats K-State in football, but, God, they have both been a big disappointment. There's a lot of this group here in TCU, and I know but they have been a big disappointment.
Yes, they have. And they dropped the spot because of somebody jumping over them, which we will get to. Up next, you got Baylor. Now, they didn't play last week. Neither did Kansas State. So I wasn't going to move them, but it was somebody that was behind them that's now making a big jump because of just the way the conference is set up. It's hard to kind of sort through some of it. But Baylor, I mean, basically for the most part, sort of staying in the same vicinity where they were. But again, one team jumped over a bunch of them, so they just naturally went down. It was nothing other than that. They're a 9-10 team, and that's where they are on here. Same thing with Kansas State. And then TCU, the loss to Iowa State at home. TCU is just a really disappointing team to me. They're sort of all over the place. They're hard to peg any given week. And they were on a couple of game win streak where they'd gone to Morgantown and won. They'd beaten Baylor with the come from behind, like the late game win there. But then you turn around, you just fall on your face against Iowa State in a game that you should have been able to close out, and you didn't close it out. And there's no juice with Sonny Dykes in them right now. They're just sort of there, and they're not the only ones in this league that feel that way, but they're 6-3. They're above Baylor as far as like the head-to-head and the standings and Kansas State and things like that, but I just think they're a middle-of-the-pack team right now that has the potential and has had the potential to be in the top 5 or so. But every time they start to make up a little bit of ground, they lose a game and they lose. It's like one step forward, one step back for them.
Yeah, I think that that 9, 10, and 11 is just kind of their group.
Yeah, pretty much at this point, yeah.
And the only advantage I would say that TCU has over Baylor is that their fan base is not completely given up on TCU and they still have faith. Baylor's problem is that team and that coaching staff is not going to get any real warmth or reception from the fans to give them a boost down the stretch. Like they're going to play Utah this weekend. That's a really tough team. That it's a really bad matchup for them defensively. That you would really like to see a fan base that's engaged and out there this week, and that's probably not going to happen. I mean, I can't say no for sure, but the trend is that people aren't going to show up for that, and they're not going to have any kind of real home field advantage.
Yeah, I mean, they've got very little mojo to speak of, but they're still better than some of the teams, and so they've got that going for them, and TCU's kind of in a similar boat. But here's what TCU has remaining. Thank God they got bowl eligible at BYU, at Houston, and then Cincinnati at home. So they could very well go 0-3. They're good enough to win all 3 of those games, but that's TCU. They'll go like 2-1 or 1-2, and they'll end up around 500, and that's just kind of who they are these last couple of years. On to the next grouping of 4. We've got Iowa State. Now, this is the team that jumped back up because of their win this past weekend over TCU, a game that looked like it was going to perhaps be their 5th loss in a row. I still have my reservations about Iowa State, but when you look at it, it's like, hey, you beat TCU, so you can't stay behind them. I definitely think you've got more mojo right now than Baylor. You beat Kansas State earlier this year, and I'm not going to drop you any lower than that. So they deserve to slide immensely when they lost 4 consecutive games. But now you've won another game, and so you're back. And I think we're kind of finding the real territory for them is just outside of the top 5-ish kind of area, along with these other teams. Arizona up a spot as well after last weekend as Arizona gets that big win over Kansas. Really critical for Brent Brennan and company to make a bowl game, and they did that with that 6th win last weekend, so they go up a spot. Houston now 8-2 after their win in Orlando. They got the space race victory. They're the kings of space, according to Willie Fritz, although I don't think he quite said that, but there was a lot of back and forth on exactly the space game and what it meant, and like UCF fans like very particular about it. But the game with the space theme, and I mean particular as far as, well, Houston's not technically the space, and what we're talking about when we say it, like it gets very into the details of it. But for the game with the 2 programs that have the most space to talk about, Houston gets the win and gives UCF its first ever loss in their home space game. So Willie Fritz and the Cougs up a spot, and that number 5 Cincinnati did not play last week, but the Cougs are 8-2.
Look,
they're 8-2.
I'll just tell people who want to get in the weeds about the space game to it, of like, what airports do you fly in if you wanted to go visit NASA? Orlando and Houston.
Right, yeah. But Garrett knows what I'm talking about. Like, they're more, like, there's like a detailed explanation for why it's not exactly a great comparison, right?
Yeah, it gets. I think there's too much into that. I think that it's very convoluted of how it gets the nonsense behind it.
Yeah,
UCF definitely takes it personal.
Yeah,
Makai Muse had something to say about it though after that game.
Who did?
Makai
Makai Muse popped off on it. Yeah, Willie Fritz was claiming we own space basically, and all of that. So I know what UCF is getting at. Those like 75% of NASA's like UCF grads or whatever it is, and I'm embellishing a little bit, not much though, I don't think. So there you go. Cincinnati with no game last week, they stay pat at number 5 there. So let's roll into the top 4. And remember, Cincinnati as well coming off a bludgeoning at the hands of Utah by 31 points last we saw them. So we'll see what they look like as they take on Arizona this weekend. Now to the top 4, and not a lot changed here. I mean, Arizona State stays put. I think with the loss of Levin and Tyson, I could ding them a bit in the mojo, but the last time we saw them, they went to Ames and got a big win to prevent from going on a little bit of a skid there. And, dude, they've lost to Utah, they've lost to Houston, and they lost in Starkville in week number 2. And they're still winning games despite the fact that they've been really banged up with their top 2 players. That defense is still really, really good. And offensively, they still have some oomph to them. So nice performance by Jeff Sims against Iowa State there a couple weeks ago. We'll see what he has in the can this week against West Virginia at home. But Arizona State stays put, as does Utah, who I think one thing we didn't talk about in the CFP rankings was where they were. I saw some pushback on how high they are because of who they have or have not beaten. I think with Utah, the key thing is they lost to Tech and BYU. Like, that's who they've lost to, and everybody else they've crushed. So there is a little bit of a debate on how high Utah was, but last time we saw them out there, they were beating the mess out of Cincinnati. So they've had a break, and now they are traveling to Waco, and I think you feel good about their chances there. And then number 1 and number 2 was decided last weekend in Lubbock, Texas. These were the top 2 teams and have been really for the last few weeks. And it was very clear when all was said and done, Texas Tech with the 3-score win. They jumped back up after that Arizona State loss dinged them and allowed BYU, who was undefeated, to jump over them. Well, now they played. Tech got the win. It explains itself. So BYU, I don't drop more than a spot. I still think they're a really good team. I think they went to Lubbock against a really good team and got overwhelmed, but they beat Utah, and I would take them over everybody else on this list right now as well. So they've still got some big games coming up themselves, like Cincinnati's right around the corner for BYU. They've got TCU this weekend. So those next 2 weeks, if they can get through that, they got UCF at the end. So real shot for them to go 11-1. And for that reason, I've got them at 2, and then Tech, no explanation needed.
I really, really, really like what Tech is as an entire team on both sides of the ball. And going back to that Arizona State loss, look, Arizona State was in control of that game for 90% of it. But the 10% that they weren't, Tech found a way to get back in a game that they were playing terribly in, which tells you that they're pretty good, that they can have a game where they do not show up for 2 full quarters at least, most of the third quarter, and then almost completely take control of the game, and then Arizona State came back and won. So, and they didn't have their fastball that day, and they still almost got out of it.
When I look at the top 4 or 5, and throughout the year, you're like, okay, there's like 4 or 5 teams should be clumped together. Right now, there's a separation because Tech beat BYU, they beat Utah. Yes, Arizona State beat them, but there's a separation. And you wondered when that would come. Now, they got to keep winning. I keep saying that because you never want to take anything for granted, but there's no doubt I think you have the top. I think you got pretty much all of this right.
I think like you could make an argument like, let's switch 10-11 or something. But even then, it's like Baylor beat K-State. You know, TCU beat Baylor.
Yeah.
So Iowa State just beat TCU, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, you could squabble over like, well, like one spot could flip, but I don't think there's really a lot to change here. And I don't say that because it's my rankings. I think it's pretty self-explanatory and has played itself out this way. So, yeah, feel free to critique or add on or whatever. But there's my version of the Big 12 Mojo rankings, which is mostly wins, but also kind of the overall vibes around your program in addition to that as well.
Well, last week, then Baylor should have dropped 3 or 4 spots. All right, now, thank you, Craig. It's every Wednesday, either at 4 or 4:30. Dave Bartu coming up in a corner. Now, there's this Space Center thing, right? This who's the city? Orlando is 54.8 miles away from Cape Canaveral.
Mm-hmm.
Houston, if you want to, as big as it is just the middle city of Houston is like 26 miles away from the Space Center in Houston. But it might take you 10 times longer to get there because of the traffic in Houston.
All I'm telling you is when Jim Lovell and the Apollo 13 guys were up there, after they blasted off from Cape Canaveral, they didn't call them to tell them they had a problem. They called Houston.
Houston, we have a problem.
Like everybody bugged out at Cape Canaveral.
Yep.
The rocket was already gone, man.
All right, Craig, thank you very much. Appreciate it. You could always, there's a replay that we put up eventually on the replay on the channel, 365 Sports on YouTube, and you could always go in there with comments or do it while we're doing the segment. Dave Bartu, 4:30. He's coming up next to explain the college football week number 2 release of the standings rankings. He's next, and this is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, combine, let's be friends. That is what Mr. Samuels, for the longest of time, used to say whenever, well, in fact, even some commercials now, that's how they end the commercials. Holiday season, I got these fresh off the press from David Gray. Make no payments on a truck and SUV, a new car. Make no payments for 90 days. 90 days of extra cash in your pocket for gifts and gatherings and for also good cheer. Here it is. Motor Trend Truck of the Year right now. The Chrysler, the Jeep, Ram, all of it. 90 days interest-free. No payments. Think about that. You don't have to make a payment for 6 months, and on top of that, you get what you want, or for at least 3 months. And then you could use all that money on something else. Here are a couple of the specials. 2025 Jeep Wrangler 4-door Sport. Right now, $250 a month leasing it. We haven't brought up leasing very much with them, but they do that for 10,000 miles a year, only $2,000 plus tax, title, and license due at the signing. 2025 Jeep Gladiator Sport S, the truck that part pickup and part SUV and adventure truck. Right now, that is available. Same thing, $375 a month leasing, 10,000 miles a year, $2,000 plus tax, title, and license. $14,000 off the 2025 Ram, $1,500 Lone Star, or 0% APR for 72 months. Pre-Black Friday sales event going on right now. Loop 340 east of 84, General Manager and CEO Ted Teague, and ask for David Gray or somebody there. Give you a chance to test drive what you want and drive away with a great Christmas gift at Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Again, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
You don't want to miss our best price deals during the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. This month, you can save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel. With premium options like luxurious leather trim seating, surround view cameras, and more. Shop our great selection in-store or online today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SPORTS365 to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SPORTS365. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 and up. 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
So Dave Bartu is into analytics, metrics, all of it, and I got a text from him. I asked him 4 or 4:30. He said, "Let's do 4:30. That's good." And then I still screwed it up. I mean, like I've been promoting your segment for 8 weeks, and good to see you, Oregon Duck. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm not letting you do any numbers around here, Smokey. That's for dang sure.
No. All right. So here's what we want to do. And the chat room, any questions you have, and we promoted this. If you have a question about the second week release, the standings, rankings, whatever it is, college football playoff, ask it, tag me in the chat, and I'll try to pass it on to Dave. So let's start with this. You, I think, last week said they were pretty damn close to exactly how you thought it was going to be. I think BYU's a little slightly lower than you thought. How did they get it last night? Did they do well?
Last night, well, and I think we should qualify to everybody listening is one of the things that me and my team have been doing inside the numbers, literally for fun with the playoff committee, is tracking their decision process, because we believe that there is no eye test, and that most of the decisions are made very quickly and made in blocks of 4 within numbers. And there's a specific set of numbers that they use. And I can go into those ad nauseum by each team. But if you look at their behavior of the last 11 years, every single ranking they've ever had, and you take all those numbers and say, here is how they should behave this week. And we ran the numbers for 1 through 16. The first 8 were dead on last night. They behaved exactly as the last 11 committees have behaved within the numbers. So in spite what everybody thinks and I swear, media just makes things up and makes fans go crazy thinking that there's a real eye test and all these other things going on. These are very powerful, busy people that don't have time for an eye test. They got to get it done quick, and they stick to the ranking rules because that's what the committee does. They don't get to make up the rules. They're told, here are the rules to rank teams. They stuck to their guns, and there was very few. I'll give you BYU. BYU is the first time they really toggled, because we had BYU in above Texas and Oklahoma. But I think we could all take a look at that and go, look, if we're going to mess with something, let's just tell everybody we think Texas and Oklahoma would beat BYU right now, because, well, I think we'd all agree that that's a good choice. But 1 through 8, dead on to expectations last night.
Dave, so is then the problem in the messaging from the committee that we've gotten all these years, instead of saying, like, there's so much clouded secrecy around it, which doesn't seem to be necessary. Like this is not the Iran deal, right? Like they're not, the CIA's not involved. I don't know why there's not transparency. They could just play the meeting,
and they promised us transparency in the beginning, didn't they?
Yeah. Like they could just say, like, here you go, boom. And like, these are the rankings we spit out. And then when you get towards the end and you may have one that is like a razor thin margin, then that's where the debate should come in, right? Where you're like, man, we're splitting hairs between 12 and 15 here this year. This is going to be tough.
Right. But here's the thing is I believe they're manufacturing the drama because that's what you, the fan, wants. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, if I come up and go, look, Ohio State's number 1 because their strength of schedule is here, their game control is here, here's their quality wins. They got 5 of them, which is the best in the country. They got 2 top 25 wins, and here's their strength of record, which we double count margin of victory. And that's how A plus B plus C equals Ohio State number 1. Nobody wants to hear that. Right? Fans want to go, oh, you must be watching a ton of film to figure out what's going on. Who has time to watch 30 to 40 teams, 2 to 3 hours? And how many of these people have the knowledge, X and O level of knowledge, to have an eye test? They have to do it this way. Otherwise, I think people would get really, really bored seeing the sausage being made in the background.
No matter what else you say the rest of the segment, the fact that you said their behavior, because a lot of people have not liked their behavior just because of what they think is being digested and spit out, correct?
Yeah. Look, if you and I were on the committee, the rankings wouldn't change. The rules that you and I would have to follow wouldn't change, right? Could you imagine, okay, and for the sake of efficiency, could you imagine taking 13 random people out of your chat room right now and put them in a room and say, you have 8 hours to come to a conclusion on 1 through 25, go.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know if I could trust 13 people in our chat room to do anything.
Even if you could, how are they going to agree on it without concrete rules of ranking teams? Right? And so this is just a microcosm of how big business is done. You have a room full of powerful people, and when they walk in, they are told, here are the ranking rules. That's why it hasn't changed, right? The only thing that changes is the committee chair's message to create drama, and then the media going, oh my God, I can't believe how this, and this was ranked. Actually, we can. It's just a really simple piece of paper. But nobody really wants to hear that. I think that's the difficulty there, is nobody wants to see the forest through the trees of what's really happening.
Because, Paul, in the first year, they kept changing the narrative every week. Remember Jeff Long? Oh, well, it's the color of the uniforms. I mean, it really did kind of drive people crazy.
Game control was his big thing, and travel and all these other things that, I think the other thing, though, is if they told people, like, here are the consistent things, there are probably certain teams that don't want everybody to know that, because then they'll start going, well, if we just get better at these couple things, then we'll hit these metrics. Because if you leave it a little nebulous, maybe that you've got some teams that are just like, well, they're always going to be against us. And if you can create emotion in an administration, then I point you in no further direction than Florida State. Every decision they've made since the snub was emotional and not like fact-based at all.
Right, which I don't understand. I have been doing this for nearly a decade. Every single week telling people, here's how it should fall. Our average miss per week over the last 12 years is less than 1 ranking spot per team. Just using numbers, not looking at film for 1 second, 5 minutes calculations, right? And for actually, it's interesting you brought it up. Do you think, folks in the chat room, do you think you'd like to know what the key metrics are?
I'd love to.
This is it, okay? This is it. All right, so you got wins and losses, right? You got just simple wins and losses. You have quality wins. Now, a quality win is against a team that is FBS and is currently above 500. Okay, that's how you count a quality win. A top 25 win is teams that you beat that were in last week's top 25. So Florida State, maybe at the beginning of the year, that was top 25. That's not a top 25 win anymore. It's only top 25 teams from last week. You got strength of schedule, you got strength of record, and you have game control. That's it, right? And strength of schedule, they said right at the beginning, it was used as the weapon of last resort when all else is equal. So when you're looking at your top 3 teams right now, Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, they're all undefeated. All of them have 2 top 25 wins. They're pretty equal. Guess what? They're ranked in order of strength of schedule. And folks, it's not the strength of schedule on ESPN or any other quack website out there that puts up their strength. It's not even my strengths of schedule that I calculate. Okay, it's their internal one. And right now, this week, Ohio State was ranked over Indiana, who is ranked over Texas A&M. Right, and that's really it.
Can you say quack wearing an Oregon Ducks beanie? Can you actually get away with that?
Yes, I can.
I can. All right, I know how you're going to probably answer this, but I'm going to ask you questions that the college football fans want to know. Yep. The eye test. I know what you're going to say.
Yep. Nothing. It doesn't exist.
It's a nothing burger, right? It's absolutely.
Well, look at the people that are on there. These are all very, very smart people. They're all very accomplished people, but these are people that work 50 to 80 hours a week already, right? They're busting their butt, and now they are in this volunteer room, And how many of them actually have the ability? Like if you told me to do the eye test, I don't have the ability to eye test 30 teams side by side, right? Maybe Barry Alvarez does when he was in there, maybe Tom Osborne, but how many hours, Dave, how many hours would you have to watch a team to get a good eye test on them? 2? 3? What do you think?
Yeah, and I'd have to do it multiple times. Of course, they're going week by week. Yeah.
But let's say it's 3 hours, and now you have to rank 30 teams. That's 90 hours. There's only 48 hours between Saturday and when they rank these teams. It's impossible. The numbers are impossible, and the ability to do it is absolutely impossible. I think if you go to Twitter, folks, just look up hashtag there is no eye test. I've been saying it for a decade. It doesn't exist.
Long time. Yeah. Does it matter the name of the school, their logo, tradition, or anything bias?
Nope. Look, we have never missed the Final Four in order ever using the same one formula. Never missed it. Okay. And so if you simply gave me all of the numbers at the end of the regular season and championship games, we use the same formula, we would have never missed anybody, right? Team A, Team B, Team C, Team D. It doesn't matter. That's another narrative that's a bunch of crap, is the brands. The other narrative that's a bunch of crap is the AP and any of these other preseason stuff actually have any weight. Look, there's only so many places you're going to put Ohio State. Of course, you're going to look at it and go, oh, that's correlated. Nope. These things just happen by the numbers. People draw inferences and just change the narrative just to keep the drama going. But in my opinion, there's absolutely and never has been any drama to this process.
So when you hear Greg Sankey lobbying like he does,
yes,
do you think that has any effect, or do you think that is him making sure that his constituents feel like he's doing his job?
Yeah, the latter. The latter, right? I honestly don't think it has any effect. I've worked for a lot of athletic directors that have been in that room. I have provided a lot of numbers and perspective and devil's advocate work for folks inside that room. And Greg does a great job. He's done a great job of giving all these ADs opportunities to make money with the acquisition of Texas and Oklahoma, the acquisition of TV contracts to expand to 9 games. But all the ADs make the decision, and his job is to try to make the SEC more money. So when he's stumping for the SEC, that's his job, right? And it shouldn't be any different for the commissioner of the Big 10, the Big 12, and the ACC. They're out there representing those teams, trying their best, even if it is a waste of time committee-wise and impact-wise. I think the optics are very important in that situation.
A&M is obviously very good, and I'm not so sure they're not the best team in the country, and eventually we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you said this, but I think you mentioned they have 2 quality wins.
Two top 25 wins, I believe.
Well, okay, so they beat Notre Dame on the road. That's a big deal. Then they also beat 2 teams that are, I don't know if Missouri's still ranked, in LSU and Missouri on the road. Mm-hmm. Which of those games was the best win for them?
I think they're both the same. They're both quality wins now, right? There's no, like you said, you mentioned Notre Dame. That was a big win on the road, right? It doesn't count any more than another top 25 win. You can't start deciding this is a stronger road win. This takes too much time. Where do you draw the line on that subjectivity? So Notre Dame is a top 25 win. Missouri is not. Missouri's not in the, now technically they were, because they were in the top 25 last week. They fall out. A&M loses a top 25 win for the next ranking system. LSU, it doesn't matter when they played them. That is an unranked team. What Texas A&M needs is Missouri and LSU to finish 7-5 or better to be a quality win on their resume. It's just that simple.
It is weird that you beat a team and knocked them out of the 25 and then killed your own quality win.
Yeah.
Like that is a weird mathematical thing. But I mean, again, Dave, you're the mathematician.
Yeah.
So it's a full season. Look, when the Ducks beat Penn State was preseason number 1.
Yeah.
Now it's not even a quality win, right? And I think it's wonderful, because that's the football gods give us and take it away, right? And this is why we play the games. And I think that's what makes it exciting is the unknown, not necessarily committee drama.
Another narrative that they stack teams at the end of the rankings that helps another team or conference.
That one I can't confirm or deny that one, right? Because we had Cincinnati at 28, and I'm not saying what we do is perfect, but Cincinnati's at 25, and guess who bumped Ole Miss this week? Texas Tech. That makes the Big Ten look better. I can tell you formula-wise, once you start getting in that bottom 10, we have a very difficult time having the hit numbers as we do in the top 16. So to that question, I've always wondered if that's actually done on purpose to support the upper part, because as we know, the only thing that counts is
what in the hell is that? Your ringtone?
Nah, that's my burner phone ringtone. I'm sorry, that's an athletic director calling. I got two phones. I got that one and the head coach AD hotline. So
yeah, we got a couple more questions and we'll let you get to them and help their fine coaching staffs, because a lot of teams need that right now. Paul.
Dave, what do you think that 9-game scheduling for everybody across the board mean? Like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, it's not gonna balance anything out for the Big 12 or ACC, and get them, more quality wins. I mean, the Big 12's been doing it, but
no, because they're not. It's not going to get them more quality wins because they're playing each other more. It's going to hurt their quality wins. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt it. It's going to be tougher for the SEC to get more teams in, because I think they're going to beat themselves up. I really believe, because like right now, I don't believe the SEC is anywhere near what it used to be at all. A lot of people go, "Oh, there's a lot of great play in the SEC. This is as balanced as it's ever been." Yeah, it is. And these teams would get absolutely smoked by Saban and good Kirby Smart teams that had depth. There is not a single SEC team that was top 15 in offense and defense right now. Not a single one, right? That's where elite teams live. There are no elite teams in the SEC. Really good ones, right? Teams that can win a national title, but teams that are great compared to teams of the SEC past, no, I don't believe so. Personally, I would have loved everybody to go to 8 games and 2 non-conference requirements amongst other Power 4 teams. That would have been wonderful, because then we could have really gotten a decent perspective. The more games that are played in conference, the less we can compare teams and the more crap we have to listen to from people trying to subjectively guess who's better.
Dave, I think that's a fantastic idea, because then we, like, as a public, like, one of the things that we were, promised with the alliance, that remember, like, oh, we're going to have these cross conference between the Pac-12 and ACC and Big Ten, and you're going to get to see Clemson and Oregon, and it's going to be amazing. And then they're like, well, that was fake. Well, then we would actually get to see those things, and teams would be forced to have to answer the phone when each other call and say, yes, Georgia, you're going to play Ohio State. Yes, Texas, you're going to play Texas Tech again. Yes, the border war is back all the time. Oklahoma and like those things will happen because they are forced to do it.
Yeah. Something and personally, it's a lot has to do with my experience. When Oregon went to the Big Ten, I was pissed. I hated it. I'm old, I'm crotchety, and I don't like change. But I love going to Autzen Stadium or going up to Seattle and watching Penn State come into town and Ohio State. And I was like, wow, it is really cool to have variety. And playing 9 conference games in the same conference, we don't get that variety. I know it was never going to happen, but man, if Oregon had 8 Big Ten games and a home and home with the SEC and the ACC one year, and the Big 12 and the ACC the next, and the SEC and the Big 12 after, man, that would be, I think it'd be great for everything, because you'd have so much better travel, but then we would also get rid of some of the subjectivity of the committee, which I would love to do, and have more automatic qualifiers, because if everybody's playing each other, we have a better sense of who's really good. The more in conference you play and the less non-conference, the less we have the sense and the more subjective and ambiguous this whole thing is.
Yeah, you hear I won't bring up Alliance because that never did get off the ground, but it would be nice. But all Power 4 conferences, I'm not sure they would agree to that. You have a rotation.
Yep.
Yeah, one year you play the Big 12 and you play the SEC. The next, yeah, I think that would be good. And then some people are starting to back away from tougher non-conference games because do they have to even win those games?
Exactly. There's no incentive for non-conference, and a lot of fans are always talking about, man, I want better non-conference. Well, until it is of value to get in the playoffs, it is going to be devalued. And so my thought was, look, at-large teams, make non-conference games count quadruple. Make Notre Dame losing to Texas A&M. I mean, basically, you're locking A&M in, right? But they took the risk of playing a tough road non-conference game. Your reward is you are playing tough outside your conference. That's the way your path in. Until that non-conference game becomes a path into the playoffs, it will be devalued, and our non-conference games will be crap because of it.
You argue with people on Twitter. They keep asking you questions. It's a great follow at CFB Matrix on Twitter for Dave Bartu.
Math is pretty undefeated. Like that's why I like Dave. It's like he's not just pulling it out of like some sort of conspiracy theory. Math is it's tough to beat numbers.
Well, and that's what we do. Right. I mean, our foundation of what we do for college football and the NFL, it's off-field staffing and off-field talent acquisition. And the goal is creating efficiencies and reducing risk. And so those are the two big things we do. But I'm a nerd, so I dabble in the dark arts of playoff projections as well.
All right, one more question.
Yes,
Earlier
sir.
today, we read a tweet from a guy that covers Georgia. He's an SEC columnist writer. He does a great job, but his opinion was that Texas Tech should not have moved ahead of Ole Miss because they will not play anybody on their schedule that is a blue chip ratio roster.
Oh, Graham's such a dope. Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, again, it's strength of schedule. Let me tell you something. Okay, strength of schedule has zero correlation with the quality of the team. None. Okay, go to bowl season, take all the games, pick everybody's strength of schedule. It's as good as flipping a coin. Okay, the schedule you play is not indicative of the quality of your team. So anybody that says strength of schedule matters in terms of anything but a tiebreaker, right? If you got 2-10 and two teams, equal number of quality wins, equal number of top 25 wins. You want to tie break it with a strength of schedule? Cool. But you need to understand that strength of schedule, because I can make up 20 different ones and I can make your team look bad and I can make it look good. Strength of schedule, strength of record. These are the easiest manipulated things when it comes down to metrics. So yeah, you can complain about that stuff. But the bottom line is you can't have your cake and eat it too. And I think that's my biggest problem I have with the SEC is they wanted the money for tougher schedules. Now that they're getting tougher schedules, they want to bitch about how those schedules are perceived and that they're 9-3 and 8-4 teams are actually better than other teams just because they're playing tough schedules now.
Man, the chat loves it. There's not everything you said we agree, they agree with, but pretty much I wanted to get rid of the narratives. I wanted to not get rid of them. I wanted you to answer them. And everybody loves it. They love the Oregon beanie and the bad to the bone ringtone too. I think you might have jumped to the top of the list of our guests.
Well, I appreciate that. And look, I understand too that everything I do, it's not a goal of being right. It's just trying to be on the right. It's trying to be on the right side more often than not. And I'm simply trying to tell stories with numbers without looking at the film. You got plenty of people that watch film, that watch TV, that watch the games. I'm trying to give a different perspective on what I see in the numbers without watching the games and not being an X and O kind of person.
We appreciate you, buddy. Dave Bartu. And by the way, there's so much more that he does. College Football Matrix, CFB Matrix on Twitter. He also helps a lot with coaching staff decisions by trying to match names and styles and coaches and what they do. And he's about to open up something that will help high school football players get scholarships not just if they're not being looked at, but by the Division II and Division III, the NAIA. And that's going to be something I'm going to have on my high school podcast on 365 Sports in the next couple of weeks.
I hope that athletic director was Michael Alford.
When we come back, we will have Zach Gelb, Infinity Sports Network. Hope you enjoyed. He's going to be with us, Dave Bartu, every Wednesday after they release. And the last week it'll be on Monday after they release the final rankings to see who makes the playoff. And this is 365 Sports.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Have you heard of the new IRA? The new IRA, Insured Retirement Advantage, is a solution for high-income individuals and business owners who want to grow and protect their wealth without locking up capital or taking unnecessary risks. If you're an asset manager or a licensed insurance agent looking to provide your clients with guaranteed tax-free retirement income and legacy protection, the new IRA Insured Retirement Advantage is an option you need to know more about and is only available exclusively from North Star Funding Partners. For more information, go to northstarfundingpartners.com and tell them 365 Sports sent you.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
This is Richard Carr, and it's hard to believe that 2025 marks our 26th year in the car business. I want to thank you for your support for the last 26 years. As a locally owned business, our customers in Central Texas community are also friends and neighbors. If you haven't been by lately, I invite you to come in and experience our amazing lineup of Buick, GMC, and Cadillac vehicles. Our goal is to make you feel like more than just a customer, but as a valued neighbor. Let us show you why we are people you can count on at Richard Carr, Buick, GMC, Cadillac.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Zach Gelb, Infinity Sports Network, for the next, about 15 minutes we have with the man, and he's here. And, Zach, we just had Dave Bartu, College Football Matrix, about the college football rankings and what really the narratives or what, in your opinion, what narrative do you think is used even if it's not?
Well, with the way that the rankings played last night, I think this is how you want me to answer it. I do think that there could be 2 Big 12 teams that make the college football playoff now. I would not have really thought that once BYU lost. But Texas Tech being ranked where they did in terms of 6, I think is something that if they win on out, just like how SMU last year had 1 loss going to the conference championship game, and then they lose by a razor-thin margin, then there's a way that Texas Tech and somebody else could make into the playoffs. But the other narratives that are out there, the SEC this year and the Big Ten, right, they're the 2 big conferences. The Big Ten is probably going to get 3 teams in. The SEC, I think, could get up to 5 teams this year. But I think it's interesting, even though Mack Rhodes didn't really say it last night, but how much the committee really did listen to the fans that were irate that Miami was 18th last week and now they're the ACC representative. I'm not doing cartwheels in the street if I'm a Hurricanes fan, because you still got to win the ACC and the odds are stacked against you for you to get in, because I do not think 2 ACC teams will get into the college football playoff this year.
Yeah, they kind of wrecked their shot last week, Zach, in doing that. Do you take issue with any of the top 12 at all? Did anything bother you that much?
No. I would think the biggest thing at first, I was like, wow, how did Georgia Tech not get in? But Miami has better wins than Georgia Tech, even though Georgia Tech is at 1 loss and Miami is at 2. I was impressed that they did put Texas Tech up to 6. I thought that for sure would be Ole Miss. But ultimately, I think that this is playing out the way that it's going to. And Texas even being at 10 right now shows you how they're trying to get another SEC team into the mix. But Texas has 2 really tough games out of their final 3 games of the season. So there's not anything that I look at through the first 2 weeks. There's some things I'm surprised about, but there's not anything that I sit there and I go, oh, like, let me yell about it. Let me freak out about it. And the committee's a bunch of dopes. I think a lot of us just like to say that.
Yeah, there's just a lot of overreaction, certainly the first couple of rankings, to be sure. I did see, though, a lot of hand-wringing, and I think this is on point, that these unbalanced conferences where you don't have round robin or you don't play the majority of the teams, and you can straight up just miss, like, the top 4 best teams in your league if you have the right draw. It does give this imbalance that's kind of weird to have to deal with across the country. Having said that, what do you think about that? But also, does it at all hinder your appreciation or your like of the 12-team format? Do you feel like it still needs some tweaking, or do you think it's valid the way that it is currently?
I think that I was never a proponent of going to 12. I was fine with staying at 4. If you needed more access, I would go to 8. I'm not going to sit here as a guy that went to Temple University and now all of a sudden dump on the little fella and be like, oh, the G5, they can't have a spot. I'll leave that to Paul Feinbaum and to do that on the ESPN. Oh, sorry. Did I say bum? I meant Feinbaum. My apologies on that. So let him do that. This is the structure. This is the format. Notre Dame's going to get in if they're 2 losses or fewer and they just don't lose to NIU in a given year where they had to win out last year. I'm good with the way that the format works. What I would not like to see is to go to 14. I don't think the number 12 is necessary, so don't go to 14. Don't go to 16. They've had enough teams the last 2 years stub their toes. The regular season games have been good. So if you're in that 2-loss range, you feel like you should be in. If it's anything more than 2 losses, I don't feel bad for you if you miss. But they have tinkered with this enough where, okay, if you win your conference doesn't mean you're guaranteed a bye. I said that at the jump. I know that's been a change this year, the strength of schedule. It's never going to be perfect when you leave it up to humans to determine this system. But I'm fine, considering the way that it's played out the last 2 years so far.
It's weird. This is something about what we have now where it's at 12 and they, of course, want to rush it straight to 16. I went and looked back in 1953 or so in college football. They had
You remember that time well, right?
Yeah, I do.
Covering the game then.
I was a twinkle in my father's eye, but they had 3 teams that went undefeated, 3 named teams. I think UCLA was one. I think Oklahoma was one. And I'm not sure who the other one was, like Ohio State or whatever, whoever it was, OU. It happened. And they had 2 teams that split it. And we've seen splits. It's amazing that no matter how many people we let into the playoff now or are a part of it, we're going to still bitch about it.
Yeah, and then what? Is Eli Drinkwitz going to tell me when they go to 14 or 16 and Missouri misses the playoff again, oh, it shouldn't be playoff or bust? That's one thing. I'm getting tired of some of these coaches. Missouri last year, if he would have said this, no problem. I would say, you're right, coach. You guys have had 2 really good seasons, 10 wins, 11 wins, whatever the order was. But this year, you're supposed to take that next step. And it's not a disaster that you didn't make it, but you failed. It looks like you're going to fail to make the college football playoff now with 3 losses. And also, all these coaches, and I get it, NIL is not a perfect world. The transfer portal is a pain in the ass. But in a way, NIL and the transfer portal keeps around some of these coaches even longer. Like Billy Napier got fired this year. He should have been fired last year. The only reason he wasn't fired last year is because they thought they needed to keep DJ Lagway and all those players that Billy Napier brought in. So some of the bitching that goes on from these coaches, it really gets insufferable.
It was 1954. Ohio State, UCLA, and Oklahoma all undefeated.
Yeah. Thank you. I would not have slept tonight if I didn't get that information.
Zach, the Giants have a head coach opening. The Jets may or may not by the end of the year. Who knows what they're going to do? They are the Jets after all.
I think Glenn will be back. He's a pain in the ass. He's been a douche with the media, but he'll be back.
Yeah. If I told you New York Giants coach Bill Belichick, how would the people in the city react to that?
I think it would be split. I think, I hate to talk about someone's health, but it's public. John Mara has been diagnosed with cancer. He's going through some things right now. I wish him nothing but the best. Just a very classy man. So I think that actually plays a role in Joe Schoen coming back. And maybe at the end of the year, we'll see where John's health is, because as an owner that's going through that, you're going to be able to hire a general manager. At least you trust Joe Schoen, even though he hasn't done a great job, and he could hire the new head football coach. But Bill Belichick knows the Mara family very well, knows the Tisch family very well. He wants to coach again in the NFL. I just don't know with how the way that it played out with Arthur Blank and the Atlanta Falcons. I don't think the NFL wants him right now. Bill, he could deny it. He still wants to be an NFL head coach. If he says he doesn't, that's an absolute lie. I think, though, some Giant fans, right, the older guard would be like, hey, this is Bill Belichick, 6-time Super Bowl champion, has a history also with the franchise when he was Parcells' defensive coordinator, Carl Banks, Pepper Johnson, Lawrence Taylor, Harry Carson. You go through all the names, and then I think some people will say, and I'm a Patriot fan, the game in the NFL has passed Bill Belichick by. Like, the Falcons should have hired him, but you see Mike Vrabel, he's aggressive. He's a player's coach, but isn't a doormat. Like, those are just things that Bill Belichick at the end was not. And you're going to get into the power structure and all that stuff. And Bill at the end in New England was a disaster because of the fact that he ruined Mac Jones, because he allowed Matt Patricia and Joe Judge to be on his offensive staff. So there were some questionable things at the end. I think it would be split, but I do think some people would talk themselves into Bill what he was, being Bill for the immediate future of the Giants.
So there was a lot of talk when he was at North Carolina about Drake May and him as an NFL prospect. And then as a team, they were just kind of okay. I mean, they were a little bit above average, but not, national title contenders by any means. And now here he is in the NFL, and he looks like the prospect that a lot of people talked about him being. How have you enjoyed the Drake May experience so far?
Absolutely loved it. I'm going to the game tomorrow night. I am very much looking forward to watching Drake May. I was not always a believer in Drake May in terms of I thought he could be good, but I always wondered if he could be great. Like, would he be that franchise quarterback the way that we interpret it? Not like a Derek Carr franchise quarterback where you're just the guy for 10 years and you're fine, but you were never viewed as a great quarterback. I always thought he could be good. Last year, I fell in love really early because he was doing a lot, even though the stats didn't show it, with nothing around him. And it's not that much better this year outside of the fact that they brought in a competent coach. Stephon Diggs is there, and Diggs still has some gas left in the tank, and they drafted Will Campbell. But Drake May, even though he had a bad interception at the end of the game up against Tampa Bay, he has made people optimistic again about this franchise, and he's brought a lot of hope. And, he just does things the way that the quarterback position should be played in the year of 2025, where it's not that much vertically running. Like, he could take off and run vertically, but it's sideline to sideline, extending plays with his legs, and then just firing the ball like 30 yards downfield. He has been sensational. The only concern is maybe the health, because he does take some hits, and you see his head basically bounce off the turf like once or twice a game.
Paul, we have one more question for Zach. He's got to go in about 4 minutes, but go ahead if you have one for Zach.
Zach, what's going on with the Eagles? Like, they're good. I just don't get that, like,
A.J. Brown's a child. Like, I understand Jalen Hurts is not the greatest quarterback. The guy won a Super Bowl MVP, though. He's a top 6 or 7 quarterback in the NFL. The dude wins. The dude doesn't care how he wins, just as long as he wins. A.J. Brown wants to win, but he wants to win with him having stat lines of 12 receptions for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't understand how he only gets 3 targets the other night, so there is some defense of A.J. Brown, but he wants to be traded. There's no doubt. I don't care what people spin. If people where I lived in Philadelphia for 7 years tell me I'm an idiot, a moron, and a jackass, you can't tell me that A.J. Brown wants to be there. He even basically said it on the Twitch stream the other night that not everything is fine. They didn't trade him at the deadline. I'm not shocked by it. If I'm Howie Roseman, I say we won a Super Bowl last year. He wasn't thrilled when he was reading that book in the sideline, Inner Excellence. So I think you run it back this year, but in this offseason, there is no doubt in my mind. I will be stunned if the Eagles start next season with A.J. Brown on this team. That's when I think this thing really blows up. There's too much signs here.
He'll be a Raider They'll
Patriots
or Patriot. Oh yeah.
Mike Vrabel. He loves Vrabel.
Yeah.
It makes sense. That went from a Twitter rumor to I think it's going to be reality.
So I think you and I should share our text during Nebraska football games for a reality show.
I am very positive. Smokey is not. And then depending on the end result of the game, if Nebraska loses, then Smokey looks like a genius. But if they then win, Smokey, he sends me the text. You know what? Maybe I should be a little bit more positive. That's a heck of a win. Like the young quarterback, Emmett Johnson's a stud. So it is very entertaining. And I enjoy the passion that obviously you have. And that's why you're one of my favorite people to talk college football with, because you know, I don't think of you as like a hot take artist. I don't think of you as someone that's an irrational human being, usually very measured and very well sourced. I know your staff is all probably laughing and disagreeing with me because they all say those things about you. They text me on the side about you, those nasty things.
Yeah.
I say, I don't know that Smokey that you guys are talking about, but whenever I text you during the Nebraska games, that is just Smokey unfiltered.
No, that's me, and that's not even drinking Crown and Coke. Thank you, buddy. Hey, I know you got to go. Thank you so much for your time when we get you, Zach. Appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Have a
Be
great
well.
week. By the way, Craig Smoak and 365 Sports, the 365 Sports Big 12, what is the actual call? On YouTube. Subscribe to this. It's a newsletter, but it's a video. What do you get? Well, because we don't promote it a lot. But it's available, and it's got basically a ton of just everything Big 12.
Yeah, it's not YouTube per se. It's got YouTube videos on it, but it's over at 365sports.video. It's a newsletter that you can sign up for. It's got a sign-up bar. You just put in your email address, and you'll see a full page where there's a video and an article link for every team, all 16 teams. Some of them are me talking about Baylor and writing about them specifically since I had a background in doing that. I just carried that on over, and then some are just kind of taken and parsed from various other places like KSL when it comes to Utah and BYU, or Arizona Daily Sports when it comes to the Wildcats and the Sun Devils. We've got some original writers along with myself like Garrett Ross, who covers Houston. And then, you know, sometimes there's a press conference video, but every single school has a video and an article attached to it. So it's just I like to look at it as like a sampler platter of everything going on. And you can kind of just scan through and pick and choose what you want to look more into and check out, but just a one-stop shop to get a little bit of news on everybody in the league. So 365sports.video is where you can see it, but please sign up for it, because even though you can read it on the website, if you want it delivered into your inbox every Wednesday between 11 and noon is when it drops, and you can just get it directly that way as well. So 365sports.video.
Woke up, did what I do in the morning, and I got back to the office or condo and where I live, and all of a sudden it was there. It's a nice piece that we sometimes need to promote a lot more of what we do. Now, Paul, Nebraska football used to be pretty good.
Yes.
Florida State was 2 years ago, should have played for the national championship or in the semifinals. OU's had their run, but they haven't won since 2000. So we have a granddaughter, Gracie, and I got permission, Gracie Lynn Golden. And I had a chance to go back and see her a week or two after she was born. And this is a video that Jennifer took of me trying to teach her that, by the way, there's other football teams besides Oklahoma and Texas in the family. So, Brandon, do you have this? This is like 15 seconds long. And he changed the culture of Nebraska football and went on to win 2 national titles, almost 3. And then they won 3 in 4 years, and they were 60 wins and 3 losses. And, okay, that's enough. But she's listening to me.
She had her eyes wide open.
That's more than I've seen her eyes open, and I was around her like all weekend last weekend. She was just sleeping the entire time I saw her.
Yeah.
But, she's a sweetheart and a little darling, and the only downside, I mean, that was very cute, but if she was watching the Nebraska game, I'm afraid her first words are going to be like F-bombs or things of that nature.
Well, she's gonna walk in and be like, the special teams again.
Yeah,
Like, this is
bleep
BS.
and bleep. Bleep and bleep, yeah.
Daniel, who's a UT guy, but not obnoxious at any way, but he likes him. He told me that he talks about watching Jennifer when she watches OU or fantasy football, and that she goes into a different type mentality that he's never seen before.
Jennifer's not a Tech fan?
She is, but she's
you got to remember, Cindy brainwashed all of them.
She's a Tech, she's a Tech fan, alum, but she just always had liked Oklahoma prior to that and then after that. So she has more of a vibe with them. Although, no, she's very much in Tech degree on her wall and everything like that, but she likes both. Like, it's not a either or thing for her.
Now, if I go back in the Wayback Memory Machine, when the first year you and I worked together,
2010
was the second year that FSU played Oklahoma.
Yes.
The first year I went up there and I watched a game went from 7-7 to 700-7 in about 7 seconds.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. And then the next year they played in Tallahassee, and Jennifer Smoak was bombarding me with Oklahoma trash talk.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, oh yeah, I mean, obviously Cindy's a big Oklahoma fan. I know that Craig is an Oklahoma fan, and all right, well, whatever. And then it like occurred to me, you had a picture of her on the wall and she had like a Tech shirt on, and I was like, wait a damn minute here.
Yeah. No, it's see, I have one team. Craig has one team. But she did go to Tech, and she did graduate, and she does go to about 1 or 2 games a year. She likes Tech a lot, but that's kind of just the way the family was raised with Cindy's side of the family. All right, so thank you very much for the video that Jennifer approved that we could use. And
I saved your ass there, quite frankly, because if you would have put that up without asking her, I think you would have had a problem. So you can thank me later for that. But you mock the approval, but I think the approval was needed when it's putting her baby on YouTube. So
because it's like it's kind of like a famous baby, and we don't need to be putting her up on YouTube too often. But thank you very much for the video, and also Gracie Lynn. She's unbelievable. Paul, what the babies you have? How many of them are FSU fans?
I don't have any, and my nephews are both not sports fans. So,
Remember the time I said something about you had a couple of kids?
Yeah,
and
my
your uncle?
godfather.
Yeah.
My godfather. So
Yeah.
I thought,
Yeah.
like, why wouldn't you tell me? I'm like, because Smokey made that up. It wasn't.
All right. When we come back, Paul's top 5. Also, the wheel. We have quizzes. We have the poll results. And we appreciate you. We're not done. This is 365 Sports. And I want to tell you about Ideal MRI. IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace off I-35, southern part of Waco. It is phenomenal. Everyone goes through aches and pains. Sometimes it might be when you were a young athlete and you have, unfortunately, a ligament, a knee or something that hurts, or a rotator cuff, or you get injured. You got to take it. They're going to give you an MRI. They want an MRI. And then you could be my age or anyone else in between. You get bumps and bruises, and you still think that you got to get things looked at. Like my lower back, which, by the way, it does feel a lot better after some treatment I've had up in Dallas. But what I first needed to do was, why does it feel like that in my hip? Well, everything in your back affects some things down below. And Ideal MRI, every time I went in there to get an MRI, it was $497 or less. And I always got a disc before I walked out the door. The doctor was in the portal to see the video or the images. It's phenomenal. State-of-the-art imaging machine. And Dr. Rob Maxey and the partners somehow can do all of this, and it is state-of-the-art for $497 or less every single time at IdealMRI.com.
FlexShopper is designed for anyone who wants the freedom to get new products right away, whether it's electronics, furniture, or appliances, even without enough cash upfront or top-tier credit.
A secret. I travel internationally every year. I struggle with insomnia both at home and especially in hotels. This was life-changing. It's called FlyKit. My favorite aspect of the FlyKit is it tells you when to sleep.
Unforgettable experiences with Force Travel. Experience the pinnacle of luxury travel with our exclusive global selection. From secluded villas to elegant train voyages, each moment is tailored for sophisticated exploration. Force Travel.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customization. And of course, online at golfballs.com.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into the Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. It's getting late in the season. It's November now. So let's ask the question, are they for real? So let's dive into it. Number 5, Cincinnati. They've had some nice wins. They're a very talented team, but can they beat a big boy? Not sure. Now, they still have a puncher's chance of getting into the Big 12 title game, albeit outside at this point. It's just they're better. They're a lot better than they were. And if Brennan Sorsby is going to be healthy, then they're going to win more games than they lose. But are they good enough to beat the other good teams in the Big 12? After Utah laid waste to them a couple weeks ago, I'm starting to question that. And I went full tilt behind Cincinnati in that game. I thought they were a better team than Utah. Well, Utah has woken up the Devin Dampier sleeping dragon, and it is rolling right now post BYU loss. Number 4, UVA. Now look, the ACC is a big muddled mess right now. It's an absolutely big muddled mess, and UVA is part of that mess. But if this team winds up in the ACC title game and then subsequently in the playoff, could they do something? Well, if Chandler Morris is healthy and he got knocked out of the game last week, then yes, they have an offense that can really, really put a hurting on you. Now, their defense, they make plays when they have to, but they are not absolute killers. My favorite one on this list to debate, Pitt at number 3. Since they installed their true freshman quarterback, they have been rolling. They've won 5 games in a row. They played Notre Dame this week. If they beat Notre Dame this week, I think we have to say, yes, they're for real. And many people would rejoice because Notre Dame would then subsequently be knocked out of the playoff. Pitt is the avatar for a ton of football fan bases right now. And if they can keep this streak going and beat a very, very good Notre Dame team and knock them out of the playoff, people might start actually liking Pat Narduzzi. I think you like him if you're a Pitt fan, but if you're not, he's not a little ray of sunshine. I've always kind of liked Pat Narduzzi, though. I kind of like the grizzled, angry guys. Number 2, Oklahoma. We're going to find out this week if they can beat Alabama for the second year in a row and put Alabama into the mix of now a bunch of 2-loss teams in the SEC and put themselves square in the playoff hunt. That's going to go a long way into what the future for Brent Venables is long-term at OU. I think one more win this year and he's secured himself for next year, but there's not a whole lot of really ardent support for him right now. There's a lot of wait and see in Norman and in Sooner Nation, but a win over Alabama this week would go a very, very long way. And number 1, USC. Has Lincoln Riley found it again? This is a good team. Now, are they world beaters like they were at times at Oklahoma? No. But they're good. And I don't think there's really a whole lot of world beaters left in modern college football. And if Lincoln Riley can start getting his quarterback room churning again year over year over year, especially what he's done with Jade Maava has been fantastic. And that's an offense at USC that looks like a Lincoln Riley offense and an improved defense. I would not bank on their defense to stop you in a tough game if they needed to, but they've done it more often this year than they have in the past. But I'm still not sold on USC and if they are for real. Well, that's going to do it for the top 5. The carnival begins now. Here we go. Andrew wants to get us a new wheel. He thinks this one has been damaged significantly. All right, we are.
It is tilted a little bit.
Yeah, it is tilted.
Not a little bit, a lot of it.
It is on the verge of falling over in the middle of a segment.
Yeah. Okay.
Andrew, did you break it when we answered one of your trivia questions right and you had your your fit of anger.
Yeah, just the post-show conniption fit about us getting it right. Which streaming platform do you find yourself watching the most?
Netflix. Even still, and like, I tell you what, if they did not have, I'm gonna like be just middle-aged white guy galore here, but if they did not have like all of the World War II documentaries that they have, I probably would have dropped Netflix because there's not a ton that like keeps me on there. But I find myself, it's like just good background TV.
Absolutely.
It's like my backdrop is like just put on, and I've seen the same ones like 10,000 times, but like for me, it's just something I put on in the back, especially late and when I'm working on stuff. And so I think if you judge by the hours, and then there's Raw when I was watching wrestling consistently, and I still check it out from time to time. And there's and then some of their other documentaries and stuff. Like it's not all the World War II or Raw or Bust, but yeah, I'd say that one more so. Hulu, I'm very hit or miss because I'm not into a bunch of like their series necessarily.
Oh, that's mine. Yeah.
I like The Bear, obviously, and there's a couple of others on there. Like I love FX, so the Hulu comes in handy for that. But I don't watch a ton of other Hulu stuff besides like maybe 2 or 3 FX shows. And then Apple, I don't watch at all. And what else is there? Max, it depends on what time of year and what they've got on at the time. So yeah, for me, it's pretty easily Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix probably comes in second for me. And again, HBO Max is, I mean, it depends. Like what's on. Like I do watch Last Week Tonight quite a bit.
I watch that on YouTube, basically.
Yeah, there's a couple shows on there going on right now that I'm watching. The Chair Company's hilarious. But I love Tim Robinson. But yeah, Hulu, I mean, like, because they have FX, and I'm such a fan of all their shows, like Justified when they had it, and they brought back Justified. Only Murders in the Building is hilarious. It's Steve Martin and Martin Short. It's hilarious. So I find myself watching quite a bit of Hulu. The Bear, you got me into that, Craig. So
yeah.
Sunny and all those things.
Is YouTube TV streaming?
Yeah, you could say
all right,
that.
well, then if I take that out, stop it, Brandon. I didn't know.
It's more cable.
Yeah, I don't think it's more. We're talking about like apps, like Netflix. Hulu.
I freaking love Netflix.
Okay.
And Craig, you brought this up. Now, there's a channel I have on YouTube TV that's the war channel when they show a lot of the old war and fighting. It's not because I want to see the bloodshed. It's just some great historical stuff. But it's no doubt for me Netflix.
Yeah, I'm into season 2 of The Diplomat. I haven't finished it yet. Amanda, like, she'll like a show in season 1 and then season 2 if there's any kind of
lull.
No, it's not lull. She doesn't like it like when the drama raises. Like I think that's good when you raise the drama from season to season. She likes things the way she liked them when she first saw them.
I tell you what, man, I got the bundle for ESPN because I wanted just the whole experience during football season. But maybe some interesting choices as soon as football's over with, man. Because I don't know, like the NBA is not going to keep me paying $30 a month for direct-to-consumer stuff on ESPN. That's not going to cut it for me personally. So, you already got the YouTube TV drama going on. I think once football's over, it's going to be really interesting to see what that looks like.
I'm very curious to see with the Fubo. Here's the thing: if Disney wants to end YouTube TV in this debate right now, they very well could, and they just need to put multi-view onto Hulu. But then they're
the part everyone.
They're gonna move. Hulu is going to be completely on Disney Plus, and so that's all going to be there. But if they put multi-view onto Disney Plus they're already got it on the ESPN app. If they did it on Hulu, where you get your cable through it, they would absolutely end it right now.
What's cool with me is you could watch 4 college games, obviously, but sometimes it's like 2 college games, like the PGA Tour, and then something else. And I love it because it reminds me of old school picture-in-picture, except there's 4 screens. And I love YouTube TV. I hope that all this eventually finds a good ending.
We'll have some college football ratings tomorrow, and we'll get into some of that. I do think there is some of an effect that can be seen on ESPN in particular with some of these ratings, but
isn't it like 40 million or so people that have YouTube TV?
I have no idea on that. I don't have it. I haven't kept real close track of the specifics with all of that, other than I know there's been some ding in the ratings because of the YouTube TV subscribers, I guess, not being counted in or having the availability to watch. There's also, they started this hasn't affected live sports. If anything, it's only benefited it, but they started changing the way they did television ratings here in the last few weeks. And some shows you've seen like spurt up, and then there's some you've seen like absolutely crater now with the way that they're doing it nowadays. So from a live sports perspective, that's as strong and healthy as ever, but the YouTube TV thing is having some effect.
From Chris, the Vietnam War series on Netflix is good.
Yep, I watched that recently, yep.
There's been others that were mentioned. Let's see.
I wasn't as
Hulu has always been better. That's Paxton.
I wasn't as into Vietnam learning as I was with, like, obviously World War II's just got all of the crazy characters and like everybody's involved and like there's just so much to it. But with Vietnam War, that's one I didn't know a lot about growing up, but I watched that. It was very good, and I'd already sort of been enlightened over the years about that, but it was definitely a good thing to watch to learn a lot more if you don't know a lot it's it. Yeah.
World War II has an ending that's easier to understand.
Yeah, exactly. There was a winner and a loser.
Yeah, like it's easier to understand, as where Vietnam and pretty much every subsequent war after that, you're kind of like,
it's gray areas.
Did we win?
Is there a win-loss column?
It's not, like, what was that good? Was it bad? Like
Scott, Florida. Nobody likes Prime Video with a question mark.
You know what? I just don't have Prime right now, man. I typically would have it, and I used to shop on there all the time, but I had a kind of a bad experience with some of the products I started getting was not what I felt like I had ordered, and it kind of gave me a bad taste, so I just dropped it for a second, and I never really have picked it back up. Even with the NFL games on Thursday night, I haven't picked it back up.
Chris Bartles, Paramount is best. Go ahead.
Yeah,
But to each their own. Like I know there's good shows on there. I just haven't been watching.
I'm a good promo code shopper and kind of move around on things. But all right, we've got trivia questions coming up now. The 1967 NFL Championship game. Oh man, the Ice Bowl. Between the Packers and Cowboys was played in freezing conditions at Lambeau Field. How cold was it at kickoff? I
think it's as cold as it could possibly be before you were in down the Antarctica. I'm going to say 37. 13 popped out to me first. It was miserable. That was the Bart Starr sneak behind Jerry Kramer.
But it was so cold. It was so cold. I've heard Gil Brandt has told us. A couple other players, I think it was Bob Lilly, said that they should not have, if it was today, they wouldn't have played.
No, they would have pushed it back.
They would have pushed it back.
What do you think?
I think 32 is definitely not it because we get 32 all the time. That's absolutely not it. I would say it's either 6 or 13. Negative 36, people would have been dying on the field of frostbite, I feel like.
Well, they almost did.
So I'm going with
I'm going to say
negative 13.
You're the only one of us who is alive.
There's been a lot of that lately.
I mean, 1967.
I want to think it's 36.
No way.
Okay,
negative 36.
No, it was godforsaken miserable. So I watched the game on black and white. Let's say 13.
I'm gonna Google what is frostbite temperature. That's all I'm gonna Google here. I've already made my pick. Frostbite's below 32.
Okay, I'm gonna say. You know what? Let's just stick with it. And let's live and die with a guy who was alive.
It's not negative 36 degrees. Y'all are crazy.
Okay. Well, Smokey, I'm going to say minus 13.
I will apologize profusely if I'm wrong on this. It is not negative 36
Andrew
degrees.
Is grinning like crazy right now. Let's see what the answer is.
I think.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, 36, we would never have gotten to know Bob Lilly.
Yeah, he would have been buried on Lambeau. He would have frozen on Lambeau Field.
Yeah, we're getting to be pretty good at these things. Andrew, that's a hell of a question because you made
a way to talk it.
There is a caveat. If he had said wind chill, it was negative 36 degrees. So that very, very nice by you. So if he had asked wind chill, then I would have been dead ass wrong.
It was so cold they could not even scrape their cleats against the ground and get any kind of traction.
Yeah.
And then Jethro Pugh had blocked, slid, and there's thoughts that Green Bay moved early.
That's thoughts.
Great.
What was the?
It's like the tush put
by Jerry Kramer's own admission.
Yeah, he said so.
And here's an advertisement for Blimpie subs. Jerry Kramer. That's what I always think of.
As good as the Cowboys were eventually under Landry, they were on the cusp twice against the Packers of winning the NFL championship. And then this case going to the Super Bowl, but it was kind of it was Lombardi.
There would be, if they had won the games that they didn't, there would be no question.
Oh, God.
There would be no question
Yeah.
who the
So the wind chill, if they did go back real quick, -13 wind chill, -36, coldest game in NFL history. Armed Forces Bowl against Baylor Air Force about 3 years ago was it was basically an ice bowl.
It was the coldest thing I've ever covered.
Yeah, referees couldn't blow whistles because they'd stick to their lips. It's like a Christmas story when you put your tongue on the pole. Players fought off frostbite. Barstool's game-winning sneak sealed the Packers' third straight NFL title. A moment, how poetic, Andrew. A moment literally frozen. And
Andrew's like Shakespeare.
Yeah. All right, next
Great
question.
one. I like that one. I almost went to the wind chill factor. I knew -36 was a thing. Okay.
This sticky, now banned substance was once used by NFL players early to catch passes in the late 1970s. Goo fingers, grip it, stick 'em, or Tinactin.
I went straight to the
Tinactin is
gutter.
for athlete's foot.
Tough acting,
Boom.
Tinactin. John
Tuck that,
Madden.
those John Madden. Boom. I think it's Stickum.
It's Stickum. It's Lester Hayes.
Goo fingers.
Goo fingers.
I mean, that's a good made-up name, but yeah, people could go a lot of different ways with that if they wanted to.
Yeah, no,
Tinactin, though, that's John Madden all the way, and I can hear his voice, tough acting Tinactin, in my head right now.
Yep.
From those
The
commercials.
great John Madden.
So yeah, y'all said Stickum. Yeah.
Stickum.
Stickum. Yeah.
Yeah. There's it. Lester Hayes. Man, he literally, if he would have, he could have climbed a
Looks
building.
like a wildcatter.
Yeah. He was a great player for the Raiders. Yep.
I mean, that's like a
13 interceptions in 1 year.
Instead of wildcatter, but yeah, like a landman out there working the oil fields with all the stuff on his gloves there.
Yeah. Lester has 13 interceptions in 1980. Texas A&M, by the way. Lester
Yeah, he
Hayes.
was. Yeah. Fantastic. Literally was fantastic, and they eventually outlawed it.
Yeah,
Yep.
but like the gloves that they have today are.
There was a player at Cowboys camp one time that told me that if the gloves they used, and this has been a while because we haven't been there in a while, that you could literally climb part of up side of part of a building.
Oh, put them on. Put them on. You could pick up you could just pick up an item on your desk without bending your
Have
finger.
you ever had Gorilla Glue?
Yeah.
Or any of that, and you get it stuck to your fingers, and it just immediately starts like eating into your skin. It's so bad. Okay.
Poll questions. What's the single biggest challenge facing the Mavericks' new GM?
It's not even close. Not even close.
I'd moved on.
Fan and locker room trust wins at 46%. And future draft capital at 27%. Anthony Davis is fit at 17%, and coaching stability at 10%.
Do you know how many games Anthony Davis has played since the trade?
If you told me 2, I'd believe it.
I think it's
16 or something like that.
16, 17.
I sent Craig a part of a radio station in Dallas, 105.3 The Fan, with Sean Sharif. They were off yesterday. I texted those guys. I went, what a day to be off. He went on a little bit later on with one of those, and I texted, did you watch it, listen to it?
Yeah, I mean, he was one of many who had the opinion that, I mean, the Mavs fans basically saved the organization with their, I mean, those, not just online, but really the ones that were in the arena still night after night, post-trade all the way up until now, that have been bringing the signs, have been chanting Fire Nico. You know, Cooper Flagg's mom, I don't know if y'all saw that, but she had a Twitter comment where she was pissed because, you know, guys were at the free throw line the other night and people are chanting Fire Nico, and she's like, this isn't fair to the guys on the team right now. And she's right, but she's also got to understand, you don't understand the betrayal those fans feel. Like, you don't understand what Luka meant. I understand you want your son to have this clean slate, and he's now going to get it, but you don't understand the trauma of the whole situation. And so I'm glad that they can all now move on, and Cooper Flagg will be the focal point, so good for Mavs fans. I'm still not back on the bandwagon, but I would say that fan and locker room trust is absolutely 100% the answer. I think draft capital and how they accumulate that and go about, I mean, they should have had a ton. That's the part that pisses you off about the trade, is they got little to none of it for one of the best players of all time and a future Hall of Famer without a doubt, already at age 26, I think he is now. So, you know, future draft capital, that's really the thing I think that pissed people off more than just obviously losing this guy they love. It's like, at least if you had said, here's 5 first-rounders, you go, okay, but you didn't do that. You said, here's this aging guy who's played in 16 games in almost 2 years, but he's a Hall of Famer because of what he did before he was never playing every night. But I will say, in regards to Anthony Davis, I have nothing against him. This is not his fault, but he probably needs to go somewhere else. Yeah. I think he needs to move on.
I think that what they're going to do with the change with Nico is I think they're going to probably trade Davis and maybe a couple of others, gain a bunch of draft. Remember, they were going to get another first round.
For him, though, at this point?
Well, I think you could still get two first-round picks.
Well, there's going to be somebody, if they trade Anthony Davis, there's going to be somebody that Mavs fans like right now that's also probably going to go.
But loaded draft as well. Like there's a lot of really good players in this draft.
But they were also going to get another first-round pick, and remember the guy for the Lakers talked Nico out of it.
Yeah.
He said, okay. Did you know that?
Yeah, of course, because that was the whole thing that pissed you off about it.
Or whatever,
Rob Pelinka, because he convinced this moron that they needed to keep it super-duper quiet so that – and he somehow convinced this idiot that if it got out, it could ruin this trade – but really, he was just playing him the whole time and had to be thinking, you moron. Like, I'm sitting here, like, you're going along with all this? Like, I'm telling you that we can't give up more draft capital for Luka effing Doncic, and you're going with it? Like, is this real life? He had to have been pinching himself.
Oh, God, here he goes again.
I want to know when they told Jason Kidd.
Oh my God,
like,
dude.
what he was like, okay, are you guys, like, Nico, I understand. Man, I know that we're, like, everybody's hurt right now and we're in a kind of a slump. Are you trying to just mess with me? And then, like, no, I traded him. It's like, why? Oh, because he's a little fat for my liking. You're like, dude, we'll put him on a nutrition plan. Like,
there's a whole to do about all that, man. But yeah, I mean, coaching stability is my least concern, and certainly for them, it would be fan and locker room trust. They've taken a big step as of yesterday, but there's still a lot of people like me that it's like, dude, the Adelsons still own the team, and I got to see way, way, way more before I would ever get back on board.
He's played 14 games. He's out now, and now the owner has to say he's going to give him on the left calf strain his okay before anyone plays him. This was I really enjoyed listening.
I was maniacal,
Yeah.
Andrew, by throwing that question out there to get Craig fired up
Dude,
again.
if you have another Mavs poll question tomorrow, Andrew, I think you and I are going to have, like, real beef. I think you and I might have to go outside.
Will anyone break into the current top 5 by Selection Sunday? Yes, outside team can get in at 66%. No, top 5 too strong. I think for certain that they could.
Okay. The two big games, we're running a little bit late. The two big games are OU and Alabama, Texas, and Georgia, right?
Okay, but also Alabama, A&M, and Georgia, and potentially Texas and Oklahoma, all will have to play. Two teams are going to have to play in the SEC title game.
And don't forget, Ole Miss beat the Citadel last week, so they should just jump right on in there.
I misread this. I thought, and that's just because I'm dumb, I thought it was for this week that there would be a change.
No, I definitely say yes, and outside team.
No question. All right. I'm surprised it's not 100%.
Okay,
all right.
we're done now.
We are done. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Andrew Valade. And also Garrett Ross, who's been here from when I was here earlier today in his Rip City hat from Portland Trailblazers fame. And Brandon Rowe. Didn't like that little sarcastic laugh when I mentioned his YouTube TV streaming. Craig Smoak, thank you. Paul Catalina, you too. Thank you. For you, our audience, and also for the sponsors, I'm David Smoak. We'll see you tomorrow at 3. Good night.